One he, on the other hand, was absolutely vibrating with excitement to buy groceries and cook. Back then, his beloved wife felt like she was utterly useless, so to keep her self-esteem from taking a nosedive, he hid his identity as a world-class master chef away and embraced the vanilla average Joe lifestyle with her, but honestly, going cold turkey on cooking gave him full-body hives. Today, his wife announced she was chained to her desk for overtime and wouldn't be home, just to be absolutely sure. He called her to triple-check what his clueless brain did not realize was his wife had secretly signed them up for a reality show, Decoding Your Better Half, secretly placing 738 pinhole cameras around their house to watch him call. With manic glee, the netizens in the live stream instantly grabbed their popcorn because, let's be real, we have all seen this classic drama cliché in soap operas. Wife leaves, husband immediately calls his secret lover. His wife Alora suddenly started sweating bullets too, after they got married. Their social circle had completely collapsed. If nothing important came up, he would not actively contact friends, but as she was overthinking, Alora's phone suddenly rang. Realizing it was him calling, she let out a massive sigh of relief and looked at the host, Serafina. She immediately gestured for the on-site staff to keep quiet. Only then did she whisper to her that she can answer. Hello, wifey, it is 11:30. Home yet? His stomach is throwing a tantrum. Alora immediately put on her acting hat and said she was not coming back today due to overtime. You just figure out your own lunch. The money she gave him this morning should be more than enough. His heart did a little happy dance, and then he asked if she was 100% sure she was not coming back. This bizarre reaction made Laura's suspicion radar beep wildly. Why on earth did he need to double-check? Could this guy actually be hiding a secret in the closet? So she doubled down, repeating that she had to work overtime and he should just eat by himself. He agreed, telling her to call before heading back, and then hung up the phone. Complete silence. The live stream chat went totally quiet. He is guilty. Talk about a massive cliffhanger. Everyone was smelling a scandalous secret. Let's keep watching. This dude checked 3 times to make sure his wife was not coming home. Something was definitely off. They smelled major secrets. Host Serafina's face also looked a bit awkward. She asked Alora if she usually went home to eat lunch with her husband. Alora explained that takeout is just a recipe for bad health, so they rarely eat it. Since her company is close, she usually just goes home to eat. Serafina suggested that maybe her husband was just upset that she was not coming back after all. However, before she could finish her sentence on the screen, right after hanging up the phone, he literally launched himself into orbit, throwing up double peace signs. He wiggled his hips with majestic sass and started singing a fabulously off-key song. The corners of Laura's mouth twitched. Serafina's face looked completely frozen, awkward, written all over it in bold font. This did not look like a sad man. He looks like he wishes his wife would never come home. Serafina asked if Alora's cooking by any chance was a weapon of mass destruction. Her husband was celebrating, voiding her food like he just won the lottery. Alora's eyes are practically shooting laser beams right now. What an absolute shameless turtle egg. Just wait until she gets home to show him who is boss. Meanwhile, Callahan has absolutely no idea his Grammy-worthy performance is being broadcast in high definition to his beloved wife. He sprawls out like a starfish on the sofa again, grabbing his phone to make another call. Instantly, every eye glues itself to the giant screen. Look, he is making another call. What did I tell you? One viewer bets their life savings this call is to some secret spicy side chick. All men are trash. But let us not jump the gun. Before seeing the results, keep the wild conspiracy theories in check. His voice echoes from the screen, asking if they saw what he just sent them. Did you see it? Right. Great. Get it ready and bring it over. Make it snappy. I am literally dying of impatience over here. Unfortunately, nobody can hear what the person on the other end is saying. After hanging up, it is completely obvious he is hyped beyond belief. The livestream chat goes pin drop silent, calling the phone call incredibly suspicious. Alora is already regretting signing up for this show. This is the very first time she realizes that her husband has an entire mountain of secrets behind her back. Who was that call to? Who does he want to hurry over? And why can he not wait? If she were not sitting in front of millions of netizens, Alora might have literally rolled up her sleeves and marched home to throttle him. After a brief silence, the livestream explodes with heated debates based on the evidence There is an 80% chance of cheating, and 20% he is calling his bros. Honestly, things are getting pretty spicy now. Never judge a book by its cover. Being handsome has its perks. One writes, if I were as good-looking as Callahan with a body. That explosive, what beauty could possibly resist? Hey, are we going to get to see a free PG-13 romance drama soon? Is it really okay for us to watch this so openly? Host Serafina quickly turns to Alora beside her. Miss Alora. Do not panic just yet. Let us just observe the situation for now. Alora nods. But her face is as dark as storm clouds. If he really is cheating, she honestly has no idea how she will face the rest of her life. Her mind is a chaotic tornado. Not long after his doorbell rings, everyone's eyes instantly lock onto the big screen like hawks. They see him jog all the way to the door. The door clicks open. A pretty young lady dressed in casual clothes walks in that exact second, Alora's brain goes completely buzz and flatlines. It is over. It is so over. He really is cheating. No wonder he checked 5 times to make sure his wife was gone. He actually ordered a sneaky link delivery. This godforsaken dog of a man. Someone should just snip off his little joystick. One comments, I used to wonder how such a handsome guy fell for her. Turns out he is just a certified scumbag. The comment section instantly erupts into a fiery crusade against him. But right at that dramatic climax, the pretty lady speaks. Here is the tofu, bamboo shoots, and chicken breast you ordered. Everything is prepared exactly to your specifications. The total is $73. You can scan my shop's QR code. He takes the black plastic bags and immediately scans her code to pay. If Mr. Callahan needs any other groceries, feel free to WeChat me anytime. I will be taking my leave now. After saying that, the delivery lady strutted right out. The moment the door clicked shut, Alora let out a breath so massive it could have powered a windmill. But why was he buying groceries? They had been married for 3 years, and he absolutely could not cook, so it turned out her husband just ordered groceries on WeChat. Serafina said with a chuckle. The netizens in the chat were collectively wearing clown makeup, completely proven wrong by his simple errand. Some chat members laughed at the dirty minds of the accusers. One user pointed out a specific person who had been spamming rumors about him cheating. The truth was out. The man was literally just buying fresh vegetables. Talk about making a massive fuss over absolutely nothing. But wait, if he is not ordering takeout, why buy groceries? Was he actually planning to cook? Some recalled Alora saying her husband had 0 cooking skills. Maybe he was preparing a sweet, romantic dinner tonight. Alora and Serafina shared the same thought. The two of them stared at the screen, but Alora's brain snagged on a completely different issue. She only gave him $50 this morning. Where did he pull $70 from to pay for those groceries so easily? He did not even blink. That meant he definitely kept a secret stash of cash. Serafina chimed in, guessing he was thinking pretty far ahead. He got the ingredients ready, just waiting for his wife to cook them. Laura agreed but frowned, realizing she only knew how to make basic tofu dishes. And she was pretty terrible at that anyway. What did he expect her to make? They kept watching the screen, curious to see what he would do next. He had to survive lunch somehow, but to everyone's absolute shock, he grabbed the bags and ran straight into the kitchen. Then he rolled up his sleeves, grabbed a cleaver, and emptied the shopping bags. Out tumbled fresh tofu, winter bamboo shoots, chicken breast, and ham. Shiitake mushrooms too. Pretty basic ingredients really, but was he going to cook? Serafina stared at the screen, asking Alora if her husband actually knew his way around a kitchen. Alora shook her head. They had been married for 3 years, and he could burn scrambled eggs. Her face showed complete confusion. Maybe this was just a sudden whim to teach himself. The netizens online agreed that was highly likely. Their collective minds spun with theories. It was totally possible. Maybe he wanted to practice while his wife was away for a sweet surprise. Men like him were a rare breed. Looking at the tofu he prepped, it seemed like a basic beginner recipe. But then a professional chef in the comments spoke up with a realization. Those ingredients looked incredibly familiar. Meanwhile, he had already tied on his apron and neatly arranged everything. A viewer with a trained eye had finally figured it out. It all made perfect sense now. This was the exact lineup of ingredients needed for a special dish. Once he tofu, other viewers chimed in, realizing something was indeed up. This guy was actually attempting to cook one of the top 10 legendary national banquet dishes, a legendary dish of that scale. Was no joke, honestly. Do you think an amateur husband can actually pull that off? Callahan does not even know, but his ingredients are completely ready. The backstage crew quickly looks up the dish to get details. They send the details to host Serafina. She takes one look, and her eyes freeze in shock. Is this a national banquet dish? Alora is stunned. Wensi tofu, from the famous Hugyang style. One of the top 10 national banquet meals, it has no heavy spices. Instead, it relies entirely on the ultimate, razor-thin precision of the chef. This is definitely not a meal for any regular cook. Serafina explains to the audience that it demands god-tier knife control. Alora is utterly confused. She knows he cannot do this. She knows he has absolutely no real knife skills to speak of. The last time he tried slicing a potato, he made chunky fries. How does a man allergic to the kitchen even know this fancy dish? Even if you want to learn, you do not start at level 1. By tackling a legendary banquet final boss, what is his plan here? Back on the screen, Callahan casually slides a heavy cleaver out of the block. He holds it with one hand. Alora's face goes dead serious. It looks like he is actually going to cook. Serafina teases the wife, asking if this is the very first time she has watched her husband cook. She tells her that even if he fails, the effort still counts. But if he somehow succeeds, she will be eating like royalty from now on. Just then, the director calls for a sudden addition to the live stage. A short, chubby man steps up. His name is Barnaby, the lighting guy. But he actually worked as a professional chef for over 20 years. He only changed careers after a severe hand injury forced him out. Now he is here to provide some highly anticipated, expert commentary on the show. Serafina loves the idea. Callahan cannot cook, so this is bound to be a spectacular train wreck, and Barnaby can roast his mistakes. Pointing out errors in real time will keep the internet viewers thrilled. It is a genius way to spike the entertainment value. The veteran director knows exactly how to capture live TV magic. Everything on this show is completely unscripted and wild. He has pulled similar stunts before to keep the audience hooked. Now he asks Barnaby if he is familiar with the dish. Barnaby admits he knows it, but his own skills were never that sharp. His master used to make it, though, recalling the past. He explains that the actual cooking is not the hard part. Everything depends on having insanely precise control over the blade. He looks at the screen, warning that this is a mistake. Attempting this dish as a complete beginner is a recipe for absolute disaster. This dish is the ultimate final exam for any chef. One tiny slip of the hand, and everything is ruined. Right then, Callahan makes his move, boiling a pot of water first. He lifts the heavy cleaver and trims the mushrooms. Every single cut must be made with absolute precision. Julienned into hair-like threads, the tofu and mushrooms need blanching first. Doing this first shows he knows his stuff and is on the right track. Barnaby comments that Callahan did his homework, proving himself worthy of his past. Even though he had never made Wensi tofu before, he still knew the secret. Next, he starts slicing up the mushrooms, but what happens next shocks everyone. The following scene makes everyone's jaws drop. All they can hear is a rapid-fire sound. A supersonic rat-tat-tat. The sheer speed of his blade is absolutely mind-blowing. On screen, you cannot even see individual chops hitting the board. It merges into one continuous terrifying hum, instantly paralyzing Barnaby in shock. As a professional chef, he knows exactly what kind of monstrous speed that takes. The director reacts instantly, telling the crew to adjust the camera and zoom in. Zoom in on the board, he yells, but by the time they adjust, it is over. Once the camera finally zooms in, Callahan has already finished chopping everything. Sure, there were not many mushrooms, but his speed was still impossibly fast. He literally sliced them all in a few seconds. Can you even believe this speed? Did he just blindly hack them into mush? Wensi tofu requires ultrafine threads. But when everyone looks at the cutting board, the entire internet collectively loses it. Under the high-definition lens, the result is clear. Every single mushroom on the board is sliced into incredibly fine, uniform threads. They are perfectly uniform, though the distance still makes it hard to see details. It is hard to tell exactly how fine they are. Did anyone actually see that? Viewers bow down to that chopping speed, questioning if their own culinary lives are lies. Shiitake mushrooms are insanely fragile, making julienning them an absolute nightmare. And Callahan actually chopped them to that level. This is absolutely mind-blowing. Is this really the guy who turned scrambled eggs into charcoal? Everyone feels totally scammed. On stage, both Serafina and Alora are frozen like statues. One cannot believe her eyes, while Alora feels her world view shattering to pieces. Her entire worldview shatters. Even a fool can see his knife skills are god tier. The two women snap their heads toward Barnaby in complete unison. They demand Barnaby explain this, as his face looks incredibly complicated. He notes that shiitake mushrooms are indeed notoriously difficult to slice. Most people have never actually seen shredded shiitake mushrooms before. Usually they are just sliced because they break apart so easily. Slicing them into fine threads requires speed, high accuracy, and absolute ruthless precision. But speed usually sacrifices precision. This demands legendary foundational skills. Barnaby admits he did not catch the sequence clearly just now. But judging by the final result, you simply cannot pull this off easily. It requires at least 10 years of hardcore knife training to reach this level. These words send shockwaves through the crowd, but the camera is still too far. Resting far from the cutting board, it is hard to see how finely he chopped. It is truly hard to judge just how impossibly fine he sliced them. Barnaby squints at the screen, staring for a long time while pondering aloud. Right then, as if to validate all their wild theories, Callahan leisurely acts. He pinches a tiny cluster of mushroom threads, holding them up to his eye. He inspects them closely. Thanks to that movement, the camera captures it perfectly. Locked focus, everyone can see those mushroom threads are actually hair-thin. Barnaby gasps in shock, his face a complete portrait of pure disbelief. He takes it back. 10 years of practice is not enough. This level requires at least 20 years of relentless knife work. The chef behind this must be a seasoned culinary grandmaster. On the screen, Callahan quietly critiques his work, not bad at all. His skills are still sharp. Host Serafina stands completely speechless. Normally incredibly talkative, right now she cannot find a single word. Alora, sitting right across from her, is even more stunned. A massive storm rages inside her mind right now. Her image of Callahan implodes. They have been married 3 years. She cooked for him all this time, completely unaware he is a culinary god. Serafina tries to rationalize, maybe this is just a lucky fluke. After all, he supposedly burned scrambled eggs. She tries to comfort Alora. It makes sense, but Alora just mutters to keep watching. She wants to see what else happens, and frankly, so do we. Meanwhile, Callahan pushes the pile of beautifully shredded mushrooms aside. Next up is peeling, washing, and slicing the winter bamboo shoots. Every single ingredient in this dish has to be shredded extremely thin. But calling this luck is a total insult to everyone. Nobody with a brain would actually believe that excuse. He slices the bamboo shoots with that same rapid motion. This time the camera operator is fully ready, capturing everything clearly. The whole chopping process plays out live for the audience. The blade moves so incredibly fast it becomes a blur. In just a few seconds, he finishes slicing the entire pile. They are equally hair-thin, but bamboo shoots are a totally different story. Mushrooms crumble easily, but bamboo is incredibly tough and stubborn. The difficulty level is sky-high due to the tough fibers. If you do not read the grain perfectly, the threads will snap. Instead of staying as long threads, they will crumble into tiny pieces. Achieving absolute perfection here requires a deep, instinctive familiarity with the food. He must know the exact grain and layout of the fibers. Simple touch allows him to guide the blade with terrifying control. This level of mastery is far beyond a normal cook. Barnaby lays out the facts, looking directly at Alora with intent. Her husband is definitely not some hopeless rookie who burns food. He is an absolute titan with god-tier skills with a blade. Alora gasps for air. Across from her, Serafina is speechless. Across 3 seasons of the show, they have never seen a twist like this. If Barnaby is right, Callahan has kept this hidden too deep. Keeping a secret this massive for 3 years is honestly hard to believe. Online viewers are losing their minds, completely blown away by his skill. Many comment that this level of talent takes way more than 20 years. Even master chefs with over 30 years of experience admit they are thoroughly outclassed. Nobody could ever reach that level of perfection. Honestly, this guy is way too overpowered. Just to escape daily cooking duty, he hid his master chef identity. For 3 whole years, that is pretty wild. He hid so deep just to be a lazy Couch potato, any wife watching this would probably want to interrogate her husband, too, to see if he is secretly some legendary chef. At this point, Callahan, knowing how to cook was basically an undeniable fact, and it seemed he was insanely good at it too, but just how good was yet to be revealed. Maybe he worked as a chef for a few years before he met Alora. Serafina offered a theory. But who would actually believe that? A few years as a chef gets anyone to this god level. There is no need to panic just yet. The core of Wensi tofu is obviously the tofu. Slicing tofu to that degree is the absolute ultimate challenge. Barnaby thought for a second and threw in his professional 2 cents. As soon as he finished speaking, the water boiled. Callahan seized the perfect moment, slapped a block of tofu onto the board, and began chopping with blinding speed. A familiar scene. There was more tofu, so the pace seemed a fraction slower, but it took no more than 30 seconds, tops. When he was done, if you didn't look closely, you'd think there was just a puddle of mashed tofu paste. On the board, it was genuinely sliced that fine, looking as if it had been pulverized. Alora hurriedly asked Barnaby how many years it would take to reach this level. Barnaby shook his head, saying he could not tell yet. Tofu has a lot of moisture, meaning the slices tend to stick together. They won't know the truth until it hits the water. Just as he spoke, Callahan scooped up the puddle of tofu and gently slid it into the water. In an instant, it was like a celestial flower blossoming, every single strand, every single thread perfectly uniform and exquisitely fine. It bloomed like a flawless chrysanthemum. In the water, Barnaby was so hyped he nearly jumped out of his chair. Back when he was still a chef, he had the absolute honor of watching a national banquet grandmaster make Wensi tofu live, but even his work was a step below Callahan's. Alora gulped hard, not even having the vocabulary to describe her current mood. She thought Callahan was an open book with zero secrets. Who knew he was hiding a nuclear bomb? He did not just know how to cook. On the contrary, he was better than the grandmasters. The tofu was briefly blanched. Next came the lettuce, chicken breast, and cooked ham. Under Callahan's hands, they were rapidly shredded into threads. Every single one was refined to the absolute extreme. Then a change of water, because blanching the tofu was specifically to remove the raw bean juice and the beanie flavor. After changing the water, he tossed the ingredients in one by one, adding just a pinch of salt. A light, pure, yet astronomically difficult bowl of Wensi tofu was served. Callahan happily carried the bowl to the table. Just as he was gleefully about to dig in, ring, 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 the phone went off. Callahan glanced at it. It was his wife, making him nearly jump out of his skin. Oh crap, was she coming home? On stage, Alora gripped the phone, her eyes practically spewing hellfire. After hesitating for a few agonizing seconds, Callahan tapped the answer button, asking Alora if she was heading back. Opposite her, Serafina was furiously winking and making faces at her. If Alora blew her cover right now, this show would crash and burn instantly. But each episode was supposed to run for a whole month, meaning they had to spy on Callahan for 30 days straight. Right now, this episode was turning into their biggest hit ever. The netizens were screaming for more, and honestly, it was incredibly entertaining. The thrill of digging up someone's juicy secrets had millions of viewers completely addicted. The livestream audience had already smashed past 3 million. The peak viewership of the first 2 episodes combined was barely 3 million. This single episode was about to shatter the entire series record. They absolutely could not let Alora ruin it. Alora took a deep breath and nodded at Serafina, signaling she understood her job. She spoke up. "I am not coming back," she said, "just calling to remind you to eat your lunch." Alora was pretty angry, aggressively emphasizing that word. She asked if he was eating right now. Callahan let out a huge sigh of relief, claiming he was. "What are you stuffing your face with?" He said he ordered takeout. When she pressed for details, he claimed it was just home-style tofu. But Alora did not believe him at all. Who on earth eats gourmet Wensi tofu for a simple lunch? That is literally a national banquet dish. Still, she did not plan to trap him just yet. Instead, she hit him with heavy sarcasm, saying she thought he was slaving away in the kitchen. The moment those words dropped, Callahan nearly had a heart attack. He spun around frantically, scanning every single corner of the room. It was crucial to make sure his wife was not peeking through a window. Nervously, he asked if she was at the office. She scoffed at that, asking how she could possibly cook when she did not have a culinary bone in her body. Meanwhile, he scooped up some delicious Wensi tofu and shoved it into his mouth. Are you absolutely certain you cannot cook? Alora could not hold back anymore, her voice dropping a register. Callahan grew incredibly paranoid, standing up to peek out of the window. His sneaky, guilty behavior sent the live stream chat into absolute hysterics. Serafina stepped in right on time, telling Alora to drop it. Otherwise, their entire cover would be blown. Alora realized she let her anger get the best of her, so she nodded and said goodbye. Enjoy your tofu, she added before hanging up. Callahan stood there, staring out the window in absolute confusion. He kept looking back nervously. Like a terrified squirrel, netizens in the live chat were absolutely howling. They joked he looked like a burglar in his own house. Others were genuinely mad that he lied to his wife for 3 years. Some viewers even started questioning their own husbands about their cooking skills. Many admitted they were getting so hungry they had to order food. Meanwhile, Callahan shuffled back to the living room to finish his lunch, but his gut insisted that something was wrong. Her reaction was just too suspicious. Did she find out? He quietly muttered to himself between quick bites. The bowl of Wensi tofu quickly vanished, but he simply could not shake that eerie feeling. He kept replaying every single detail over in his mind. He is sure he left no clues. It shouldn't be possible. He plops onto the sofa, entering full detective mode after not cooking for days. Today was the perfect window. His wife, Alora, was working extra overtime. She wouldn't be back for lunch, making it impossible to catch him red-handed. His logic is completely sound, but he never expected what came next. Millions of viewers were watching him live in high definition at this very moment. He was caught red-handed, then a sudden realization hits him. He leaps off the sofa like a coiled spring, rushing toward the small guest room. He gets there in 3 giant strides, immediately making everyone highly suspicious. Serafina asks Alora, what room is that? Alora explains it is their tiny guest room, mostly used for extra storage. Since they rarely host overnight guests, they almost never go inside. She answers instinctively, explaining that they normally never even step foot inside. But luckily for us, the camera crew had set up a hidden 360-degree lens inside. The camera feed instantly locks onto Callahan as he rushes inside. Viewers are baffled, wondering why he is acting so incredibly shady now. Some suspect the show spooked him, sending him to check on other secrets. But hiding secrets in a storage room seems like the most obvious spot. While they debate, Callahan is already lifting the mattress on the bed. Laura gasps in shock, having no idea that the bed frame could lift. Hidden directly underneath the wooden boards lies a small, mysterious box. Callahan inspects it with extreme care before gingerly popping the lid open. Through the camera lens, the live audience can easily see what is inside. They look like official certificates, but the text is too small to read. No problems here. I was definitely just being paranoid, he mumbles. He gently closes the lid, but only he can see what is on top. The top document is a first-place certificate for a World Culinary Championship. And there is a massive pile of similar awards hidden right beneath it. After placing the bed board back, Callahan wipes off his hands. He nods to himself, thoroughly pleased with his secret hiding spot. Flawless, there is zero chance she will ever find this. Heading back to the living room, he immediately cleans up the evidence. He does not just throw the scraps into the kitchen garbage bin. Instead, he bags them and walks them out to the street dumpster. Honestly, there were barely any leftovers to clean up in the first place. He bought ingredients measured exactly for a single serving size. His cooking precision is so extreme that there is almost zero waste. After sterilizing everything, he returns to the couch to play video games. If it weren't for this reality show, his wife would never have noticed a single clue. Alora's face grows darker by the second as she watches him. The host mutters that he seems to be a regular repeat offender. They ask Alora if those red books are her marriage certificates. Alora shakes her head, having never seen these items in her entire life. Although the camera feed is sharp, the certificates are stacked too tightly. You can only see the topmost document, leaving the rest of the text unreadable. Tonight, right after work, Alora is determined to uncover exactly what her husband is hiding. She mutters darkly to herself, ready to snoop even if the show didn't ask her to. She is definitely going to snoop, though she once believed Callahan had zero secrets. A regular city guy who treated her incredibly well, but now everything changes. Can you believe he was actually harboring a massive mountain of secrets right under her nose? Meanwhile, Callahan remains completely clueless about his secrets. He is happily playing his favorite video games right now. Since gaming streams are pretty boring, Alora and Serafina start chatting. With the cooking segment finally completely over, there is nothing left for Barnaby to analyze. So he heads backstage, leaving Serafina to ask Alora how they met. They still do not know what those mystery certificates are, but Alora will surely find out tonight. Serafina asks how they first met, genuinely curious about the early days of their relationship. Lara reveals they met about 4 years ago, dating for just over a year before marrying. Now they have been married for 3 years, but what did he do back then? Serafina keeps digging for details, asking what Callahan did for a living back when they met. Lara explains he was already a freelancer, and she never really pried into his past. She did not really care about those details, and he never once mentioned his previous jobs. Lara thinks back on how peaceful their lives together had always been. Their relationship was never some wild roller coaster of crazy adventures, just steady and comfortable. Callahan always treated her like royalty during their quiet life together. Neither of them liked chaotic drama, and his income was always solid. Combined with Alora's very high corporate position, their lives were always incredibly comfortable and prosperous. No massive storms, no drama. She believed she knew everything about him. Only now does she realize her husband might actually be some kind of undercover agent, faking bad cooking just to avoid kitchen duty. That petty little motive almost makes her laugh through her anger. Her anger slowly turns into sheer amusement, but the biggest mystery still remains those hidden certificates. Lara makes up her mind to rip the lid off this mystery tonight. For the rest of the afternoon, Callahan does absolutely nothing suspicious. When he finally gets tired of playing video games, he literally just goes to sleep. Right before Alora is scheduled to get off work, he slowly opens his laptop. He starts doing some actual freelance work, which only makes Alora's blood boil even more. She saw the comments from his clients, who are practically begging for their orders. Yet here he is, taking his absolute sweet time while they are desperately waiting for him. Since her shift is over, Alora drives home while the show keeps broadcasting. The live stream is scheduled to run straight through until 10 p.m. tonight with no breaks. At that point, Serafina will sign off, but the cameras will keep recording. Naturally, once night falls, the cameras in the bedroom will be remotely disabled. Otherwise, those late-night bedroom wrestling matches would definitely get the stream banned in a heartbeat. Lara unlocks the door and calls out to let him know she is home. Callahan immediately trots out to greet her, wearing nothing but a pair of baggy shorts. He happily welcomes his wife home, asking what fancy dinner she is cooking. He asks completely out of pure habit, totally unaware of the massive storm brewing. Mentioning cooking instantly sends Alara's anger straight into the red zone. She cannot believe he has the nerve to ask for dinner after stuffing his face all day. A national banquet at noon. Did you even think about me? Suddenly, a wave of memories hit Alora. She remembered the countless times she would pout too. Callahan whining that she wanted to eat something delicious, and magically, after work, an incredible feast would be waiting on the table. Alora always felt those dishes were far beyond what any normal takeout could produce. Callahan claimed he bought them from a high-end restaurant, yet even after the ride, all the way home, they still tasted absolutely divine. She had her tiny suspicions back then, but she never overthought it. After all, Callahan was the man who turned simple eggs into literal charcoal. But looking back now, those feasts were definitely cooked by Callahan. Absolutely, 100% true. Why are you spacing out right after getting home? Wifey, how about some braised pork belly? Tonight I am craving it, Callahan, completely oblivious, suggested. Almost screamed at him to eat dirt, you liar, but she swallowed it down. Her eyes casually drifted toward the small guest bedroom down the hall. The secrets were in there, but how could she sneak in without setting off his alarms? That was the million-dollar question. Callahan was a freelancer. He almost never left the house. There were literally 0 openings. What are you looking at, wifey? Callahan asked, deeply puzzled. His wife's behavior was definitely weird today. From the phone call to right now, everything felt off. But Callahan still did not think his cover was blown, because knowing his wife's explosive temper, if she found out, she would have already drop-kicked him straight through a wall. What he did not realize was that the producers had begged her, otherwise Alora absolutely would have initiated an inquisition by now. Nothing, I am going to make dinner, Alora said, turning away. To the kitchen was spotless. There was not a single trace that a national banquet dish was birthed here at noon, those leftover scraps from the morning had been completely purged by Callahan. Not a single microscopic crumb of evidence remained. In the live stream, the netizens were still glued to their screens, seeing Alora go home and start cooking. The viewers started getting antsy. How can she check that tiny room without alerting Callahan? Time to make some wild guesses here. Maybe the top certificate is a fake and the rest are just blank paper. Yes, indeed. I mean, what kind of insane stuff do you have to do to earn that many certificates? Wait until he falls asleep tonight, then sneak out and check. I think that is the smartest move right now. Serafina had not clocked out yet, still guiding the audience on stage. I will be signing off at 10 p.m. tonight, folks, but our live stream runs 24 hours a day. Our crew works in shifts. If any unexpected situations occur, we will immediately cut the feed. So please watch with peace of mind. The unexpected situations she mentioned had been explained by the showrunners previously. For example, if Callahan and his wife were chilling in the living room and suddenly got in the mood, the feed would be killed instantly. Of course, Alora knew about the cameras. She definitely would not agree to any shenanigans, or if any other extremely private secrets popped up that could not be broadcasted, the crew would do their best to cut the signal before they were exposed. Alora was cooking. Callahan was. He sits there bored out of his mind watching television. Alora hates it when he plays video games, so whenever she is home, he absolutely never touches his console. That night after dinner, Alora actually considers sneaking out to check, but because their bedrooms are right next to each other, if she actually tries, even the tiniest squeak of the door could wake Callahan up. In the end, Alora gives up. Beside her, Callahan is snoring like a chainsaw. She grabs her phone and opens the live stream, seeing that the bedroom cameras have indeed been shut down by the crew. She finally relaxes, laying in bed half asleep. She slowly drifts off at some point in the night. The next morning, Alora does not go to work because it is finally the weekend. Serafina has arrived bright and early, taking control of the stage. Alora glances at the live stream stats. Early in the morning, the viewer count has already smashed past 2 million. Alora has watched the first 2 episodes herself, but they were nowhere near as viral as her own episode. He asks if his wife wants to go out today, since it is the weekend, brushing his teeth as he speaks. Usually on weekends, the two of them would head out somewhere to unwind. She tells him not today, saying work was completely exhausting this week. But before she can finish, Alora's phone suddenly rings. She checks the caller ID, puts the phone to her ear, and answers. What? The investment was pulled. Why? But they had a rock-solid agreement. Why are they backing out now when the project is about to launch? Where is she supposed to find new investors at this late stage? Can they not renegotiate the terms? Hello, hello. The person on the other end hangs up on her. Alora's face turns pale. Callahan asks what's wrong, but Alora shakes her head. Just work stuff. Unless it is fantastic news, Alora never bothers Callahan with work problems. That is just her personality. One person stressing out is better than 2. Plus, even if she tells Callahan, he can't do anything to help anyway. Callahan knows her stubborn nature well, so he doesn't press the issue. She says, all right, hubby, it is the weekend, and I really want some of Xavier's sweet pastries. Xavier's sweet pastries, the one all the way in the West District. Yep. Laura nods, staring holes into Callahan with puppy dog eyes. Forget about the work disaster for a second. She needs to pry open Callahan's secret box first. This is a brilliant strategy she has just hatched. Xavier's sweet pastries is located in the West District. It isn't across the country, but a round trip will take at least half an hour. Half an hour is plenty of time for Alora to launch her espionage mission, and at this moment, Callahan remains blissfully unaware that his darkest secrets are seconds away from exposure. He agrees, saying it is still early, and he will grab breakfast on the way. He asks how many she wants. She says 3, and he tells his queen to rest. He promises to return swiftly. With that, Callahan practically throws his clothes on, grabs the car keys, and dashes out the door. Alora stands by the window like a sniper, watching his car pull out of the complex. Only then does she tiptoe sneakily toward the small guest bedroom. She pushes the door open. Callahan's 5-year-old secret is mere inches away. Seeing her tactical maneuver, everyone in the chat is completely losing it. They are practically giving a standing ovation for this genius side quest strategy. With the coast clear, she can inspect his hidden stash however she wants. No more waiting, she needs to pull that box out right now. The tension is crazy, and her palms are already starting to sweat. Meanwhile, Callahan is already driving far away from the complex. Naturally, the show cameras lost him. He is totally off-grid. Driving to the West District, he pulls his phone out to call. Seconds later, his voice drops down to a freezing chill. He orders a quick investigation to find out who upset his wife. Back at the house, Alora steps right into the small bedroom. Exactly like yesterday, Alora creeps slowly toward the bed. Flipping up the dusty mattress, she copycats his moves. Underneath lies the bedboard, and lifting it takes serious effort. She has to put some real muscle into raising the heavy wooden board. Right there on the front side, the hidden box finally appears. Alora struggles to hold the board up while grabbing the stash. To uncover her husband's secrets, she is giving it everything she has. Box out, she lets the board crash and finally takes a breath. Walking back to the living room, she collapses onto the sofa. The box goes right on the coffee table in front of her. The close-up cameras give the audience an absolute premium view. Exposing her husband to millions of strangers feels a bit sketchy. But this is national television, and she still holds a massive grudge. So she goes for it as millions online lean in closer. Click, the box opens under the intense focus of the stream. The box opens to reveal that identical stack of certificates. She picks up the first one, and a line of bold letters jumps out. It is the Bocuse World Culinary Championship, first place winner. Alora has no idea what that is, but the rest is clear. A culinary championship means cooking, and her husband won it all. Just like that, the chat absolutely explodes with wild reactions. Viewers lose their minds, frantically asking what this competition even is. Even if it was just some local cook-off, first place is huge. The internet goes wild, with predictions proven totally right. Callahan is not just a decent home cook, he is a master. A literal grandmaster, explaining that crazy banquet dish from yesterday. Those terrifying knife skills from yesterday finally make sense. Suddenly, a viewer drops a quick Google search on the name. It is the absolute peak international event in the entire culinary world. Only top-tier master chefs and royal cooks ever get to compete. It features the most elite chefs representing their nations. Alora holds the certificate in one hand while reading her phone with the other. Her brain completely freezes as she looks at the screen. She knew her husband was good, but not on this ridiculous scale. Never in a million years did she imagine he was this powerful. Her quiet husband is actually a legendary, world-class champion. Serafina is completely speechless. This crazy scenario has never played out. On their show before, did Callahan pay someone to print a totally fake certificate just to feed his own massive ego? The theory is not entirely baseless. She urges everyone to wait. A prestigious international championship like this must have a hall of fame online. Just a moment, folks. Serafina listens to her director's voice. They found the page, she announces with shock. Look at the big screen, she says, as the director projects the newly discovered webpage onto the massive stage screen. It is the official website of the prestigious Bocuse World Culinary Championship. Right on the past winners roster, the top name is genuinely Callahan. The top 3 champions have their pictures attached, and next to his name is a man wearing a pristine white chef uniform. He looks incredibly similar to the current Callahan, though this photo shows him much younger. He wears a towering chef hat, exuding absolute swagger and complete authority. The data shows this massive tournament happens every 3 years. Callahan competed 2 cycles ago, which means 6 whole years back. At just 19, he became the youngest world champion in tournament history. Serafina reads all this amazing information aloud, feeling like she's trapped in a dream. How could a cooking god pretend to burn basic scrambled eggs? He was hiding his true talent incredibly deep, while Alora watches the stream in complete shock. Her husband looks like an absolute stranger to her as his face fills that massive stage screen. Meanwhile, excited online viewers are rapidly checking the official tournament website for themselves. It is 100% authentic. The comment section explodes instantly. Some people joke that they cannot even hide emergency pocket money from their wives, yet this man successfully concealed his god-tier identity for 5 whole years. Others even call the official tournament hotline directly to verify this absolutely insane, unbelievable news. The legendary victory is completely real. Alora finally snaps out of her deep trance. She hastily puts down that grand championship certificate and grabs the remaining pile of documents. Fanning them across the coffee table reveals a jaw-dropping list of achievements. Others call the official hotline to verify the news. It is completely, 100% legit. Look at the other certificates. Alora quickly snaps out of her trance. She hastily puts down that grand championship award and grabs the rest of the thick stack, fanning them across the coffee table as the screen displays a dazzling array of elite credentials like Grand Master Chef, 3-star Michelin chef, and Olympic champion. He was even a special guest judge and vice president of the National Culinary Association and youth chef champion. This is completely unbelievable, just counting all of these championship honors alone. There are 13 of the ultimate top-tier credentials that elite chefs would sell their souls for. Alora is utterly shell-shocked. A 3-star chef, a national grand master. Is he really the vice president of the National Culinary Association? What kind of alternate universe is this? Alora suddenly notices 2 completely different documents sitting at the very bottom of the stack. But the next paper was completely different. She unfolded it, her face instantly turning pale. It was a national banquet invitation, officially calling on Callahan. He was invited as the executive chef. Alora swallowed hard, completely dumbfounded. The live stream chat instantly froze in that exact second, as if time itself stopped. Complete silence. The viewers are begging for answers, asking if anyone can even explain this. They are out of words to describe Callahan. This guy is not just some cook. He is the literal god of the kitchen. But are these certificates actually real? One viewer decided to background check every single document. Every single document has a verified digital footprint online. They really belong to Callahan. A veteran chef in the chat wonders how they never knew their own vice president. Others double-check the database. Up on stage, Serafina begins to sweat. She finally realizes the gravity of this situation. This guest is a monumental VIP. Now he was just a clueless participant on their simple reality show. Could this spark some massive international incident? He is clearly no ordinary citizen. He likely knows countless powerful elites. Suddenly, the director gets a call. When the director relays the update, Serafina physically shudders. She begs everyone to stay calm as they receive a sudden phone call. It is from Editor-in-Chief Wang of the prestigious National Chef magazine. He confirms that Callahan was inducted into the National Chef Hall of Fame. He entered 7 years ago as one of only 12 Supreme Grandmasters in existence. Now, do you understand what this truly means? This implies that Callahan has achieved greatness. He made massive historical contributions to the nation's culinary arts. He elevated basic cooking from a simple skill into a form of high art. It is not about a tasty dish anymore. Meanwhile, Alora stands frozen. She is at the dead center of this storm, completely and utterly shell-shocked. She never imagined the husband she lived with for 3 years had this background. Having such an absurd, terrifyingly powerful background was simply too much to process. Suddenly, a wave of genuine anger bubbles up inside her. What about trust? He kept her completely in the dark about something this massive for so long. Was it all just to avoid doing the dishes? For 3 years, he never cooked. On the rare occasions he actually prepared food, he secretly made it for himself. To say she isn't furious would be a massive understatement. Serafina tries to intervene. She gently tells her not to get upset, suggesting Callahan had a reason. Perhaps he had some unspeakable difficulties that forced him to stay hidden. She tries to defuse the bomb, but honestly, the excuse is incredibly flimsy. What kind of tragic secret could a professional chef possibly have anyway? Alora silently gathers up the certificates, placing them neatly back into the box. She sits in total silence before letting out a long, heavy sigh. Deep down, her mind is already searching for excuses to justify his behavior. She wants to believe he had a compelling reason, choosing to bottle up her anger. She must keep watching to find out what else Callahan is hiding from her. Before today, she believed she knew every single detail about her husband. She thought any secrets would be harmless, like a hidden stash of cash. Nothing serious at all, but now this has officially escalated to code red. Alora marches back into the small bedroom and lifts up the mattress. The bed board forcing the hidden box right back where she found it. After pushing the box deep inside, she realized how heavy the wooden slab felt. Suddenly, as she tried lowering it, her weak arm gave out completely. The thick wood slammed down. Alora moved fast, but her fingers still got caught. Crimson blood started to ooze from the small but painful cut on her hand. She felt incredibly betrayed. Through 3 years of marriage, she never hid a thing. But Callahan kept this massive secret buried deep, keeping her completely in the dark. He never said a word, concealing his past flawlessly. The thought made her boil. Her anger flared as she collapsed onto the couch, her eyes burning with tears. Bitter tears finally began spilling over, splashing onto her lap. The live stream chat went into absolute panic, pleading for her to stop crying. Some fans defended him, guessing Callahan must have a tragic past behind his fame. Perhaps he just wanted to escape the spotlight and live a simple, normal life. Besides, he always treated her like a princess, so is that not enough? But others disagreed, arguing that a man who hides this much has other secrets. The comment section was a total war zone, but Alora was completely oblivious to it. She had shut the application down and was just sobbing silently on the couch. Suddenly, his voice echoed from the door, calling out that he brought hot pastries. The moment of truth has arrived. Callahan is back, and the tension is unreal. The chat exploded with anxiety, wondering if Alora was going to absolutely lose her mind. Angry viewers started calling him trash, complaining he does not even cook for her. One user bragged about cooking for her own husband, sparking immediate petty fights. People kept arguing back and forth, mocking each other as the chat scrolled aggressively. Meanwhile, Callahan stepped inside, unaware of the storm brewing. A Category 5 hurricane was about to hit their peaceful little home. He set the treats down, expecting a warm greeting that never came. Turning around, he saw Alora huddled on the couch, her eyes red and puffy. She was hugging her knees tightly, burying her face away from him entirely. She looked just like a wounded kitten seeking comfort in her own shell. Panic seized Callahan instantly. He threw himself forward, rushing to her side. He pulled her into a desperate hug, frantically asking what was wrong. His eyes darted around the room like a hawk, searching for any signs of danger. Everything looked normal, but then his gaze fell on his shivering wife. He froze as he noticed the blood dripping from her injured finger. Seeing the red gash made his heart stop as he panicked over the wound. He carefully rested her back on the sofa and ran toward the cabinets. Desperate sounds echoed as he tore through drawers, looking for the medical kit. He kept muttering to her to hold on, promising to fix the cut immediately. But the sheer panic was making him incredibly clumsy as he searched. He could not find the bandages anywhere, mumbling to himself in frustration. He lunged for another drawer, tossing things aside. Meanwhile, Alora slowly calmed down. She wiped her face, staring blankly at her husband's frantic movements. Seeing him panic so much for her made the anger in her heart lessen. He suddenly cheered triumphantly, finally holding up the medicine box. He sprinted right back to the couch and dropped to his knees before her. He scrambled through the medical kit, pulling out a hemostatic wipe. Callahan stayed kneeling on the floor, gently resting Alora's hand on his knee. He meticulously wiped away the blood with iodine, asking how she could be so careless. He looked up, asking if it hurt, that gaze overflowing with pure, unfiltered concern instantly captured Alora's heart. She instinctively nodded, but then violently shook her head. Well, does it hurt or not? Callahan mumbled, teasing that she was a grown adult who still could not take care of herself. He scolded her gently while finishing up, the wound now mostly cleansed. He sprinkled some medicinal powder on it, then peeled a bandage and applied it flawlessly, double-checking his work before finally nodding. Satisfaction, handled it just in time, he said, promising she would be fine in days. You need to be more careful from now on, Callahan lectured her like a worried dad, leaving the millions of netizens in the live stream completely silent. Where was the massive drama they expected? This was just pure, sweet romance. Talk about making everyone single feel incredibly jealous, from the moment Callahan walked in. To discovering her injury, to the frantic search and meticulous wound care, every single action was guided by pure subconscious instinct. The chat agreed this guy was a top-tier partner. Still, no one knew if Alora still planned to unleash her wrath, while host Serafina fell completely silent, staring at the screen. She almost forgot she had a job to do. After all, she was a single girl herself, and what single girl would not want a handsome partner who pampered them and cared for them this deeply? That was Callahan. Setting aside any crazy secrets, the man was handsome, with a great body. He was gentle, caring, and made a very solid living. He was practically flawless, and Serafina was starting to get genuinely Jealous, on the screen, Alora did not say a word, just staring blankly at Callahan. Every bit of anger in her heart had completely evaporated. Looking back over the last 3 years, Callahan truly treated her like a fragile treasure, constantly afraid she would break if he let her go. Whatever she wanted to eat, her husband would move absolute mountains to get it for her. Even though he did not cook, he handled every other chore flawlessly, just like today when she wanted sweet pastries. Callahan did not hesitate for a second. Early this morning, he drove across half the city just to buy her favorite pancakes without complaining. He indulged her every whim. Callahan gently told her to stop crying and look at her messy face, promising to grab a warm towel to wipe her skin so they could eat those pastries while they were still hot. He spoke softly, starting to stand up, but before he could fully rise, Laura cried out for her husband, suddenly throwing her arms around Callahan's neck. She sobbed at the top of her lungs, completely forgetting about the live stream. Millions of netizens watched as Callahan jumped back in shock. Hearing her cry, Callahan gently patted her back, shushing her softly. "It is just a pastry," he teased, telling her not to cry over breakfast. Otherwise, her nose would start running, and hearing this, Alora instantly burst into laughter at his silly joke, caught between crying and laughing. Right then, she whined that he was interrupting her rare emotional moment. She pouted, asking to cry in peace. He agreed, but insisted that right now it was pastry time, suggesting she schedule another crying session for later. Callahan chuckled, jogging over to hand them to her. On the sofa, Alora took a bite. Honestly, it tasted fine, even though she was never a fan of sweets. Sending him out to buy them was just a tactical excuse to get him out of the house, yet this treat felt like the sweetest thing she had ever eaten. She offered her husband a bite, completely forgetting the entire world was watching, planting a massive kiss right on his cheek. Seeing the happy couple munching on pastries together on the sofa, the online audience was absolutely drowning in deep jealousy. Everyone wondered if the interrogation was just over. The show host, Serafina, watched them with obvious envy, admitting she never expected their show to capture such a beautiful moment, alongside digging up deep secrets. This was clearly the kind of perfect love everyone dreamed about. Soon after finishing the pastries, Alora snapped back to reality. The entire house was still rigged with hidden cameras. Instantly, her happy mood plummeted as she remembered her company disaster. Still, she tried to hide her stress, telling him there was an office emergency. She needed to head out for a bit and probably would not return for a few hours. When he asked about weekend work, she blamed a minor project hiccup. She had to go put out the fire. He understood and asked about her lunch. Just as she was about to shake her head, a sudden spark ignited. In that moment, she realized she wanted to eat something delicious when she returned. This was her signature move. Every single time she said this, Callahan would magically have a massive feast waiting for her return. This time would be no different, and it was the perfect way to test her theory. Callahan patted his chest, guaranteeing he would set everything up. For a grandmaster chef of his elite caliber, this was incredibly easy. Whipping up a gourmet meal was easier than breathing. Only then did Alora happily leave the house and drive straight to the broadcasting studio. Serafina greeted her, asking if she was here to hang out for a while. Laura replied with a heavy heart, explaining the emergency was very real. It was not just some handy excuse to spy on her husband. Serafina was stunned, having assumed Alora just made up an excuse to watch her husband. She explained that the situation at her company was actually terrible. She might be stuck dealing with the disaster for 2 whole days. Serafina asked if it was truly that serious, hoping she did not mind sharing. She wanted to know what happened, though it was just a polite inquiry. After all, this involved corporate secrets, so there was no real pressure. Alora thought about it for a few quiet seconds. She figured there was no harm in sharing the details. Through her quick explanation, the online audience finally got the gist of it. She was a mid-level manager, not the boss, but certainly no rookie. They had spent 6 months preparing for a major project. They were only days away from launch, and the investors just walked out. All the early prep work had already burned through a massive amount of cash. Losing funding at this critical stage meant absolutely catastrophic losses for everyone. Sure, they breached their contract, but the cowards ran. Finding them would take forever. Freezing the project was not an option. Too many people were waiting, plus vendor agreements had a strict deadline. They had less than a single week left, otherwise they were doomed. Laura's company would be the one facing devastating legal and financial penalties. The fallout would be apocalyptic. She needed to save her company first. Serafina urged her to handle it, noting she could watch online. The host looked completely serious, even though Serafina was just a television host. She understood this was a massive crisis just from hearing Alora describe the situation. It was a life or death situation, right at that exact moment. On the live broadcast, Callahan was sitting calmly on his sofa. His phone suddenly rang, but Alora barely paid attention to the broadcast. Her husband had hidden his culinary status, but she accepted it now. As long as he loved her, that was enough. But then, on screen, Callahan answered his phone, and his entire face immediately darkened with rage. He asked if they found out. A second later, he leaped from the couch. The man demanded to know if his wife's investors had really backed out. Demanding details on the funding gap, this is where it gets crazy. Online viewers were absolutely flabbergasted by this sudden turn of events. Serafina turned to Alora, asking if she had secretly told her husband. Laura shook her head rapidly, insisting she had said absolutely nothing. The host thought about it, realizing the cameras ran nonstop. Unless they discussed it in private, she had no way to warn him. Judging by her genuine shock, that option was completely out. Callahan clearly just found out, but how did he get this information? Serafina pressed her, asking if she knew who was calling him. Alora shook her head again, looking just as baffled as everyone else. How could someone leak her company's private crisis to her husband so fast? The host brought up a wild theory. What if he had another secret identity? It was a terrifying thought that caught everyone off guard. Laura froze in place, unable to process such a crazy possibility. A man who successfully hid a legendary culinary career could hide anything. She confessed she had absolutely no idea what to believe anymore. Her mind was a total mess. She trusted him, but this show was peeling back his massive secrets layer by layer. Serafina suggested they stay calm and keep watching for a bit longer. Putting her office trip on hold for a few minutes would not hurt. Laura agreed while the online chat went into absolute nuclear meltdown. People commented that this felt like a high-stakes spy thriller. How many secret identities did this husband actually have hidden away? The show was legendary. Back on screen, Callahan was furious. He yelled into the phone, demanding to know what he paid them for. How could they let a screw-up this massive happen? Do they know how serious this is? It was incredibly serious. As the project laid, Alora would have to take the brunt of the blame. That is why she was panicking so hard. The investors ran right. The gap is $500,000, right? Fill that gap for me immediately. Do they need to be spoon-fed how to do their jobs? His tone was that of a ruthless corporate overlord, nothing like a normal, chill civilian. That is enough. He says he has to cook dinner for his wife. After that, he slams the phone down. Dead silence. Serafina and Alora stared at each other. They both saw absolute, unfiltered shock in each other's eyes. The live stream chat exploded with fans claiming they knew Callahan definitely had an ace up his sleeve. Anyone who casually refers to $500,000 as pocket change is not a normal dude. Could Callahan actually fix this crisis? Serafina turned to Alora, saying it seems her husband is going to solve this problem for her. Alora obviously understood what his words meant, but she was still highly skeptical. Securing investors requires a massive, agonizing process. They have to audit the project and negotiate the fine print. The investors hold all the power. To be blunt, investors are the kings. They have the golds. They do not throw money blindly, auditing repeatedly and testing sincerity. Even if you pass, they will not wire the money. Immediately dragging things out on purpose. Alora had no clue who he just called, but even if he pulled strings to find investors, they still had to go through that grueling process. The host pressed, asking what the odds were that her husband could actually help. Odds, Alora thought about it. Maybe 30%. Right at that moment, her phone violently buzzed. It was her project department. She had to take this. Alora hit the answer button. Don't panic. She was on her way to the office right now and would figure out a way to get funding. She assumed the project team was calling to rush her. To her utter shock, a wildly ecstatic voice screamed from the other end, telling director Alora that she needed to listen. 3 massive investment firms just contacted them out of nowhere. They each want to invest $1 million, making it $3 million total. Alora's entire brain Short-circuited, she mechanically turned her head to stare at the giant screen. On the screen, Callahan was making another phone call, casually asking for more. Fresh veggies. Alora did not give a damn about what vegetables he wanted. She only wanted to know what that previous phone call was, especially since she had her phone on speaker. The project department's ecstatic screams echoed throughout the entire studio. The millions of viewers in the live stream were completely stunned. Did he actually just pull that off? That was way too fast. 3 million secured in literal minutes. How terrifyingly powerful are his connections? Some did not buy it, calling it a coincidence. Maybe the investors just happened to spot the project. The timing is way too convenient. The person from the project department asked cautiously if director Alora was still there. Alora finally snapped out of her trance. You are incredible, director. They begged for that $500,000 investment for months, and she casually pulled in 3 million in one shot. How did she do it? Alora was completely lost in the sauce, wondering why they thought she pulled the investors, because the second they called, they immediately asked if this was your project. It felt like they did not even care about the details. They were basically throwing money at us because your name was on it. Lara froze. She slowly turned her head to look at Callahan on the screen, her eyes filled with disbelief, even though she did not want to believe it. This was highly likely the result of Callahan's single phone call. Suddenly, a fourth firm called. They want to invest another $1 million. They are even demanding they sign the contracts and launch the project right now. Alora gritted her teeth, telling them to lock down the project first. Launching it is the absolute top priority. She also asked for the investment firm names. The caller agreed, but then yelled that a fifth firm was calling. He hung up to take it. The call ended, leaving Alora trembling with shock. In just minutes, the investment pool had mutated from a $500,000 gap to a $5 million flood. This had to be Callahan's doing, but seriously, how does one phone call wield this kind of crazy power? Her mind was absolutely racing. On stage, Serafina was also losing her mind. This whole show had completely derailed from reality. Alora asked Serafina to help run a background check on the companies, holding up her phone with the list. Serafina noted they could check the corporate registry, but many companies hide their actual controlling shareholders behind shell entities. She then called up their resident financial expert, Thaddeus. He pushed up his glasses and said if her husband truly has ties to these firms, they will not find it on any public registry. Shadow connections are never documented, but Alora insisted he check anyway. Serafina introduced him to the crowd as an expert from the financial news network. He is the ultimate bloodhound when searching for corporate data. Just then, Thaddeus froze mid-typing and yelled out in excitement. He found Callahan Holdings. Everyone's eyes instantly locked onto him. Like sniper lasers, the studio camera zoomed in for a dramatic close-up as Thaddeus pushed up his glasses again. These firms were highly aggressive, massive players in the domestic venture capital market. Among them, Crimson Redwood Capital and Global Silver Investments both list Shuguo Qiang as their legal representative. The other three are represented by Wulei, Xingyan Luo, and Jia Wangliang. He asked if those names rang a bell, but Alora shook her head. Blankly, she had never heard of these people in her life, but she definitely knew Crimson Redwood Capital. That is the mega firm that invested in TikTok. They normally would not even look at a tiny company like hers. The live chat went absolutely nuclear. A massive firm investing in a small project. It was insanely suspicious. Was Callahan really pulling the strings here? If he has this kind of godlike power, why is he staying home writing web novels? Remember, he is a 3-star national banquet chef. Making money is probably a total joke to him. Knowing a few Wall Street titans would be completely effortless to Crimson Redwood. $1 million is barely a rounding error. Still, there was no hard proof. After all, nobody knew those shadowy financial giants in person, and there was no way to verify if he was the puppet master. Serafina could not hold back. She begged Thaddeus to dig deeper. The feeling of the truth being inches away but totally out of reach was literal torture. Thaddeus frowned deeply. 5 venture capital giants simultaneously swarming one tiny project. It was violently abnormal, and the absolute scariest part, it happened seconds after he made that simple phone call. It sounded like a movie, but it was impossible not to connect the dots back to him. Alora was completely lost in the The funding crisis was magically solved, but her heart was in absolute turmoil. Thaddeus suddenly spoke up. He had a close friend who was basically a god in high finance, any information off the public registries his friend could easily dig up, hearing he was calling in favors. To verify the truth, the viewers went wild. Serafina said, "Politely, we will have to trouble you then, Mr. Thaddeus." Thaddeus waved his hand dismissively, glancing at the screen where Carlos was just chilling, waiting for groceries. He was not just doing this for the show, his own curiosity was eating him alive. Who was this chef, if the wild rumors were true? He was a literal god walking among men. "It is no trouble," Thaddeus said. "I will make the call right now." Thaddeus dialed directly and slapped the phone on speaker. His friend asked what brought Thaddeus to his neck of the woods. Thaddeus explained he was filming a show and hit a brick wall. He needed a massive favor. The friend laughed. Thaddeus asking for help meant hell was freezing over. What did he need? Thaddeus asked for a deep check on Crimson Redwood Capital and Global Silver. He needed to know exactly who was pulling their strings. The contact on the other end of the line went dead silent for several seconds. When he spoke again, his voice was dead serious. Why was Thaddeus digging into them? Just professional curiosity, Thaddeus replied. He suspected they were connected. His friend laughed. You do not need to dig. They are connected. They seem independent on paper, but they are actually all subsidiary branches under the exact same parent company. Subsidiaries. Thaddeus's voice cracked in sheer shock, a massive leviathan-like. Crimson Redwood was just a branch. They all operated under a ghost conglomerate called Callahan Holdings. This giant almost never shows its face in public. Callahan Holdings. Oh man, the chat instantly exploded. If the company is named after him, then everything fits together perfectly. But this identity is too terrifying. Thaddeus's breathing grew ragged as he asked, how much do you know about Callahan Holdings? Very little. They operate entirely in the dark. But wait, there is a rumor that their actual leader is named. What? Serafina, Alora, and millions of online viewers held their breath together. The friend thought it over. Right, the boss shares the name. Carlos is Callahan. Callahan? Yeah, that is the name. The apex predator of the investment world. Crimson Redwood Capital is nothing more than one of his personal toys. Everyone turned to look at the screen. Carlos was still just sitting there waiting for his food. It was impossible to connect this chill guy with an apex corporate predator. Thaddeus asked if he was certain. Pretty sure. Do you know anything else about this Callahan guy? Nothing, only that he is a total phantom. He is rarely ever seen, a completely hands-off boss whose power is absolute. This was not just powerful, this was reality bending. After Thaddeus hung up, he stood frozen, paralyzed. He never imagined things ran this deep. The reason those firms all invested simultaneously was mind-blowing. They all answered to the same boss. The second the phone call ended, all the subsidiaries panicked and scrambled to execute the order. They did not even look at the project, they just threw cash. Sure, it was only 1 million each, but 5 million instantly. Thaddeus turned to Alora, his voice trembling. Miss Alora, though we cannot legally verify this, Callahan is your husband. The probability is astronomical. Who exactly is your husband? As a financial expert, he knew better than anyone how terrifying a financial cartel of that scale was. This was an untouchable elite sitting at the very top of the food chain. Alora was in full panic, married 3 years, together for over 4. She had never caught a single whisper of this. She mumbled softly, asking if it could be a massive coincidence. There was still no hard evidence proving that CEO Callahan was her husband. Meanwhile, the livestream chat went absolutely wild. There is zero chance this is a coincidence. This is so wildly romantic, you cannot even find his footprint online. The investment firms reacted like they received a royal decree. Just then, the crew escorted a stunning girl onto the stage. Serafina recognized her instantly, asking Calliope what she was doing there. It was obvious they were close. Calliope confessed she was glued to the livestream. She glanced at Alora's face on the big screen, wanting to know his true identity just as badly. Maybe she could easily crack the case. Serafina's eyes lit up like floodlights. This girl, Calliope, was the only daughter of the TV station's president. She came from extreme wealth with a family background rumored to be unfathomably deep. Once she sat down, Calliope cut straight to the chase, mentioning her deep military ties. She could access high-level classified dossiers on anyone. That was true power inside this country, no matter who you were or what you Did the military database had a perfect record. One call was all it took, using her connections to unmask Callahan's true identity would be. Legendary is his ultimate secret finally about to be dragged out. A netizen named Liu Jia rubbed his hands together in manic excitement. Admitting the sheer thought gave him an adrenaline rush. This show had completely derailed from its original concept. At first, the program was meant to expose harmless little secrets between couples, like hidden cash stashes to get some laughs, or at most catching a cheat. But now Callahan's existence had shattered the show's popularity records, sending them into the stratosphere. Honestly, the anticipation is off the charts. Calliope pulled out her phone, dialing the number and putting it on speaker. The call connected instantly. She ordered a background check on Callahan. A young man's voice came through the speaker, teasing her about having her eye on some boy. Calliope quickly denied it, laughing. No, Calliope quickly denies it. You clearly have not been online today. Or else you would not be asking me this. Just check the name, please. It should be easy for you. She is acting extremely cautious. She avoids giving away any names or military ranks. It is a simple request. He tells her to relax, with his elite high-level security clearance. Tracking down a civilian is simple. Even classified targets are fair game. He can pull the file. He asks for a minute and hangs up. Viewers watching the live stream immediately pick up on the massive flex. Calliope is casually pulling massive military favors. It looks bad for Callahan. He has nowhere left to hide. Thaddeus is too terrified to breathe loudly. He knows the contact Calliope just called is an absolute heavy hitter. Having the power to pull classified special forces dossiers is insane. It is a world Thaddeus can only dream of, so he wisely stays quiet. Host Serafina acts like a complete professional. She does not pry. She just waits silently for the results, but Alora stares, highly conflicted. Her heart is a mess. Meanwhile, Callahan is busy in the kitchen, cleaning a fish, totally unaware of the massive storm heading his way. Staring at the ingredients on the counter, Alora has an instant realization. She knows what he is making. Serafina looks surprised and asks, "Do you really know?" Alora nods. Years ago, when she wanted good food, she would find this exact dish waiting. He claimed he bought it. But now she knows he made it. Watch closely, the cooking starts now. Her eyes light up. She remembers him calling it squirrel mandarin fish. It is her absolute favorite. Meanwhile, offstage, the lighting crew guy Barnaby hears this and nearly jumps right out of his seat. He gasps that it is another elite national banquet dish. The crew is shocked, reacting instantly. The show director shifts the camera and pulls Barnaby back under the spotlight to explain. Barnaby shouts excitedly, "Simple squirrel fish is easy, but the true banquet version is legendary." Looking at how he prepares the ingredients, everything matches. Especially after hearing Alora's story, Barnaby is 100% certain now. If it were anyone else, he would have serious doubts, but this is Callahan. He is a total legend, a guest head chef for state banquets. Whipping up elite recipes is just a normal Tuesday routine for him. Barnaby cannot help but ask Alora if she remembers any other meals her husband used to make. Alora tilts her head, trying to recall. She lists off osmanthus duck, scallion oil chicken, and walnut black mushrooms, along with shrimp roe winter bamboo shoots and oil-braised cucumbers, and 5-spice smoked fish. Listening to the list, Barnaby's jaw drops. She says that is all she can think of right now. There are more, but she forgot. Alora asks if he recognizes them. Barnaby nods frantically. He stares at Alora with massive jealousy. Most of those dishes are exclusive state banquet recipes. Your husband is incredibly traditional. He rarely cooks Western food. You have basically been eating like royalty this whole time. Banquet menu. Barnaby was absolutely drowning in jealousy, a regular civilian getting to eat national banquet feasts every single day, cooked by her husband's own hands. What kind of fairy tale treatment was this? The live stream chat exploded yet again. What was even going on? Callahan hid his identity, sure, but secretly fed his wife the entire national banquet menu. This man was just so aggressively romantic. People wondered why they couldn't find a partner like him. Alora listened in a daze, having no idea that the meals she casually praised were actually world-class masterpieces. They were incredibly delicious, yes, but she always thought he just picked them up from a pricey restaurant, to think he painstakingly made them all himself. In that moment, Alora's heart melted into a puddle of warmth. It didn't matter what Callahan was hiding anymore. Right at that very moment, Calliope's phone rang. Loudly, the entire studio and millions of viewers instantly fell dead silent. His ultimate secret was about to be dragged into the light. The second the call connected, Calliope impatiently asked if they found it, a deep male voice echoed from the phone, confirming they did. Every single viewer held their breath. They were seconds away from learning his true, godlike identity. Why did he hide his identity? Who knows? Billionaires love playing these weird games. Amidst the suffocating anticipation, the man on the phone suddenly burst into laughter. This Callahan guy was apparently just a completely average dude, he said, thinking she wanted a trace on some shadowy VIP. Calliope's face was a giant question mark. Average dude, then how do you explain Callahan Holdings? Well, the man amended that he was not completely average. His file showed he did some advanced studies at the International Finance Academy, so he clearly had some brains. The International Finance Academy was an elite institution. It birthed countless financial titans. Anyone who could get in there for advanced studies was easily worth a few million at least. Calliope thanked him and quickly hung up the phone. Host Serafina finally opened her mouth to speak. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, she had a theory. Callahan might have met some obscenely wealthy friends at the academy, and they just let him put his name on the paperwork as the legal representative. In reality, there are plenty of companies where the legal CEO and the actual mastermind running things are two completely different people. Honestly, this theory actually holds quite a bit of water. Upon realizing that Callahan was merely a figurehead for Callahan Holdings, and not the actual corporate overlord pulling the strings, the audience was visibly disappointed. After all that massive hype, Callahan Holdings did not even belong to Callahan. The host had a solid point. The legal rep isn't necessarily the one holding the crown. With a massive empire like Callahan Holdings, the real brains behind it are probably alumni from the Finance Academy. Callahan is just a glorified placeholder. With that logic, he really just made a phone call to a rich buddy. But wait, listening to the tone of that phone call, he didn't sound like he was talking to a buddy. The audience was momentarily stumped, but the classified military data was sitting right in front of their eyes, proving that he was, indeed, not the ultimate boss of Callahan Holdings. Honestly, this might actually be for the best, if he really was the boss of Callahan Holdings. That would just be way too terrifying. Although slightly disappointed, deep down the audience did not actually want to believe Callahan was the real boss. It makes sense. This contradictory mindset is normal. Seeing an average Joe suddenly become vastly superior, your ego resists. It naturally fights back. The camera cuts back to him. He is preparing the second dish. His knife skills are unreal. Absolute mastery over the ingredients leaves everyone completely mesmerized. Chop chop. Chop chop left, chop chop right. He hums a tune while prepping a plump, majestic, black-feathered, silky chicken. His goofy behavior makes the live stream audience burst into laughter. Having a husband like him would be pure bliss. You would be laughing every day. Is that a silky chicken? Making soup with that is incredibly nourishing, while everyone is busy debating poultry. Guest Calliope quietly slips away from the host desk, leaving only Barnaby and Serafina. Barnaby originally thought Callahan was just making a simple chicken soup, but the moment he slices open the chicken belly, Barnaby violently shudders. The internal organs are completely pitch black too. It is an extremely rare Indonesian obsidian chicken. What is an obsidian chicken? Is it not just a regular black silky chicken? Why are the insides black? It is definitely contaminated. You cannot eat that. Serafina also looks thoroughly confused. She hands the microphone over to Barnaby so he can explain. This incredible breed is literally the most expensive poultry on the planet. Not only is the exterior black, even the internal organs are a metallic pitch black, Barnaby explains. This color is not just a flat dark shade. It is a unique black with a metallic iridescent sheen. He recalls seeing one while working as a private chef for a Billionaire. It is ridiculously expensive, he recalls. The meat on that bird is as tender as silk and tofu, and the nutritional value is incredible. The live stream chat instantly explodes. Many viewers say they just Googled it. This bird is basically the Lamborghini of poultry. How expensive are we talking here? Barnaby, do not leave us hanging. He sighs with deep emotion. This kind of chicken is basically a plaything for the ultra-rich. Barnaby heard a single live one costs around $6 million. Taking one Bite is like chewing on a crisp $10,000 bill, the comment section. Goes completely nuclear. Where on earth did Callahan get the money to buy a chicken? This expensive, did he hoard a massive secret stash of money? Meanwhile, he is at home prepping the second dish. With surgical precision, he slices a piece of pink pork into wafer-thin sheets, then dicing it into tiny pomegranate seed-sized cubes. His knife work is as smooth as flowing water. One look and you know it is pure professional mastery. He is making Yangzhou lion head meatballs. Barnaby praises in awe, truly worthy of a national banquet. Executive chef, those knife skills are unparalleled. Seeing this, Serafina hurriedly presses him. If Callahan bought this Indonesian obsidian chicken himself, does that not prove he is hoarding a secret fund? Alora is completely shell-shocked. She only gave him $200 for groceries today. Where did he find $6 million to buy a designer chicken? The livestream boiled over. Is Callahan actually a stealthy billionaire? Even a multimillionaire would wince at eating a chicken this pricey. His wife works her tail off at the office while he secretly hoards millions. Unreliable. The absolute truth is finally coming out now. Callahan is no ordinary national-level special host chef. He is also playing the stock market like a total fiddle, making millions. Even if he does not run Callahan Holdings, he made millions. Now Alora is panicking, completely at a loss for what to do. Watching the situation spiral, she wanted to stop the cameras. She wanted to scream for a cut, not for herself though. She just could not stand seeing them drag her husband online. Hold on, a middle-aged man suddenly stands up from the VIP audience. You can tell with one look he is a successful businessman. Serafina gasps in shock, asking if Mr. Sterling wants to speak. This is the mega-rich sponsor of the Decoding Your Better Half show. He is a big-shot CEO worth tens of millions, watching quietly until now. He reveals he has actually eaten this exact type of chicken. Sterling walks onto the stage, saying the price is not that crazy. It is only $30,000 to $40,000 for one. He had been observing silently, first thinking it was a regular bird. But then he heard Chef Barnaby mention the Indonesian obsidian chicken. As a wealthy boss attending elite banquets, he knows the difference. He knows the distinction between the pet and meat versions. He explains that this breed comes in two distinct types. One is bred strictly as an ornamental pet for the rich. The other is raised for eating, which is what Callahan has. The market price is around $30,000 to $40,000. If you catch a good sale, you can buy one for $20,000. Serafina realized this. Thank you, Mr. Sterling, but even at $20,000, that still vastly exceeds Callahan's $200 grocery budget. Hold on, now the chat section is completely exploding. He definitely has a secret stash, likely in the millions. Not billions. Having a few $1,000,000 is totally normal, right? A national chef can easily make tens of thousands per meal. Some say we are underestimating him. Try $100,000 minimum. Wealthy people value top-tier culinary and spiritual experiences the most. Dropping $100,000 to have him cook is basically pocket change. So Callahan hoarding a few $100,000 is completely logical. Serafina smiles and tells Alora her husband treats her incredibly well. Whatever she craves, he makes it happen. To the host, a husband hiding some pocket money is really no big deal. After all, didn't she secretly stash a few $1,000 behind her own husband's back? Not to mention, Callahan is a literal national chef with high income. A sweet, sugary smile blooms on Alora's face. He really has. He appreciated how well she treated him, quickly heating up the wok. Right at that moment, he abruptly set down his spatula to answer a phone call. His face instantly shifted into a mask of pure, unadulterated seriousness. He roared into the receiver, asking how they were even doing their jobs. Pouring all the investments in at once was obviously suspicious to him. He snapped, asking if they had never heard of diversified investing. This dominant tone sent the chat into another frenzy over his tyrant CEO mode. Viewers absolutely loved how incredibly hot he looked yelling, noting Alora was not one to mess with. They assumed he meant a massive deal. Those corporate suits were way too rigid. After hanging up, he opened WeChat. He texted that the chicken delivered today was wrong, wanting a standard black silky. Seeing this, the viewers' eyes lit up as they realized a twist was coming. He had originally ordered a standard, everyday silky chicken. The representative on the other end immediately started apologizing profusely. She begged for Mr. Callahan's forgiveness, explaining they accidentally mixed up the order. They swapped the standard silky with a rare Indonesian obsidian bird. She asked if he had used it, promising to send a replacement immediately. The panicked female voice from his phone left the chat deeply impressed. Usually, stores would just make the consumer swallow the cost of their mistakes. One viewer joked about how banks demand extra money back within an hour. Even if you do not notice the error, agents will knock on your door. But when the machine shorts you, it takes days of running around to fix. They gave the store a perfect 10 out of 10 rating for its service. Still, they worried that the poor delivery girl would get her wages docked. The audience debated passionately, with everyone dying to see how he would react. They watched Callahan furrow his brows, looking quite displeased by the whole situation. He muttered that he would just reluctantly use this chicken anyway. Warning her to pay much closer attention next time, he hung up. The relieved woman promised it would never happen again, sounding completely pardoned. This entire exchange left the show crew and the live stream audience completely baffled. Seriously, was that it? He was just going to reluctantly cook it. Did he honestly have no idea how expensive that black chicken really was? An obsidian bird costs 20 grand, yet he is reluctantly using it. As a national-level chef, there was absolutely no way he did not know the market price. Barnaby, who had been quiet, finally chimed in to explain the chef's logic. He explained that Callahan was not just putting on a show. National banquets demand strict standards, meaning a mix-up would halt the entire kitchen. They would completely halt production and wait for the correct silky chicken. Using non-native ingredients completely alters the intended flavor profile. Top-tier chefs are just that ruthlessly demanding about their ingredients. It is like trying to make braised pork belly with tofu instead of meat. The taste would be fundamentally wrong. The chat felt like they unlocked new knowledge. Some joked about their own chef parents being nightmares at grocery stores. After half an hour of intense cooking, right as Alora got off work, a table overflowing with stunning, mouth-watering dishes stood ready. The dishes are ready: mouse-style braised pork belly and giant lionhead meatballs, rich three-treasure claypot duck, and fresh obsidian chicken soup, all legendary national banquet masterpieces. Serafina rattles off the names like an encyclopedia. No wonder people say marrying a chef is the ultimate jackpot. Eating gourmet masterpieces every single day, who wouldn't be happy? Alora scratches her head, looking a bit sheepish. As for her own cooking skills, Callahan eats whatever she makes without a single complaint. Instantly, Serafina's eyes sparkle. It seems Callahan truly loves Alora with all his heart, but Alora quickly laughs and waves her hands, explaining he is just too lazy to cook. As long as the food is not literally toxic, he will eat it. She knows as a corporate survivor that the higher you are praised, the harder you fall. Serafina notes that since the feast is ready, Alora should hurry back and enjoy her spectacular national banquet. Serafina smoothly steers the conversation as the livestream engagement shoots up high, with the viewer count smashing through the 3 million mark. Not only did they clear up all the rumors about Alora's identity, but viewers also got a front row seat to a national executive chef in action. Alora suddenly proposes that Serafina tag along, pretending to be a new corporate colleague. Serafina's eyes light up like fireworks. Can she really tag along? Getting to eat a home-cooked meal prepared by a national chef is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Alora generously agrees, and Serafina flashes a sweet smile at the camera, telling viewers that she is going to crash a dinner party. Alora cannot help but laugh and guarantees she will taste true national banquet perfection. The two women chat and laugh as they head toward the house, leaving the comment section drowning in pure envy. After all, this show is all about married life, compared to reality shows with plastic pop stars. This hits the sweet spot for married couples perfectly. In the taxi, Laura and Serafina are watching the livestream on their phones, seeing Callahan close his eyes and deeply inhale the aroma of his liquor. Serafina asks curiously if Callahan rarely drinks at home. Alora stares at the screen and explains she usually bans him from drinking because the second he gets drunk, he starts spewing absolute nonsense. The memory of the last time he got drunk is still fresh in her mind. Serafina giggles, asking what he says. Laura explains he starts claiming the president is his little lackey who pours tea for him. He also calls himself a living medical god, and even the richest man in the world, thinking about his goofy drunk antics. Alora cannot help but laugh. Most people, when drunk, hallucinate. They are Superman, but Callahan straight up brags that he is the richest man on the planet, calling him quite a character. Serafina covers her mouth. Giggling, of course, she does not believe a word of those drunken ramblings. If a lazy neighbor lounging around all day suddenly claimed to be the richest man on earth, would anyone buy it? He was just bragging, right? After all, movie plots are fake. In reality, Callahan might be comfortably wealthy, but he is light years away from being the richest man in the world of the ultra-rich, is completely beyond ordinary comprehension. Along the way, the highly sociable Serafina and Alora really hit it off. They grew quite close, and through their casual chat, Serafina managed to gather a lot of intel about Callahan. 10 minutes later, their taxi pulled up to the apartment complex gates when Alora's phone suddenly rang with her husband calling. He asked when she was coming back, saying the restaurant food had just arrived. On the phone, Callahan sounded like he was pacing frantically, having timed the cooking perfectly to match her commute. If that food sat around too long, the optimal flavor profile would be ruined, and smelling the intoxicating aroma of the Ergo 2 liquor made the little booze demon in his stomach practically claw out. Alora told him she was already at the complex gates, deliberately teasing him by asking how she missed the delivery guy. His heart skipped a beat. He lied that they came in plain clothes, making them easy to miss. Them urging her to hurry. After hanging up, Callahan dashed out of the living room like a madman. What on earth is he doing now, hiring a random actor to play the delivery guy just to avoid future cooking duties? The kitchen god has played a cooking disaster for years, and the viewers were rolling on the floor laughing. Seeing him scramble like this is incredibly satisfying. Alora hung up the phone and let out a cold snort, grabbing Serafina and power-walking toward the house. She was determined to beat him home and see exactly what kind of circus trick he was pulling. Usually, walking from the gates to the house took 5 minutes, but Alora shifted into turbo gear and made it in 2, imagining him running around in a sweaty panic, slamming the door open only to see him lounging casually on the sofa watching television. He looked up with a perfectly crafted expression of surprise, asking how she got up there so fast after being at the gates. Spotting Serafina standing right behind her, he quickly stood up to grab an extra glass, asking why she had not warned him first. He added that it was terrible manners not to be prepared for guests. This stream is an absolute comedy show, and the viewers are loving every second. Saw exactly what happened in 4K resolution. In those brief 2 minutes, he had sprinted downstairs, bought a massive stack of plastic takeout containers, and aggressively scraped a tiny portion of every dish into them to create a flawless illusion of restaurant delivery. The stream chat was moving at warp speed, praising his god-tier reaction. That facial expression management in the final second was absolutely Oscar-worthy. Look at Callahan's forehead, because he is definitely sweating bullets. He is totally panicking inside. Alora dropped her bag, looking at him with a deeply amused smirk, asking if her sudden return gave him a heart attack. She sat down, sniffing the heavenly aroma, and gasped in mock surprise, teasing that the takeout looked incredible with this neat presentation, and suggesting they order takeout for every meal. Callahan instantly started panicking and rejected the idea. He argued that takeout was fine occasionally, but it was expensive and totally unhealthy, insisting it could never compare to her own delicious cooking. After all, if they ordered takeout daily, his cover would be completely blown. And then he'd be permanently chained to the stove. Cooking occasionally is romantic, but doing it every day is a prison sentence. It's like turning a hobby into a day job, no matter how much you love it, you'll eventually hate it. He's only joking though, seeing her objective achieved. Alora smiles and waves her hand, telling Serafina to come sit down. She's been busy all day, so it's time to eat. Beside her, Serafina bites her lip. To keep from laughing, she puts on a polite face and sits down, thanking Alora. He finally notices Serafina's slightly awkward expression and asks who she is. Alora introduces her as her new colleague, Serafina, who helped her out a ton today. Alora quickly covers her tracks, explaining they negotiated a project together today and invited her for dinner. Hearing this, his expression instantly softens. He thanks Serafina for taking care of Alora at the office, noting they must be starving. It is time to dig in. After all that hard work, the food is ready. He had kept all the dishes covered, so not a single wisp of heat or Aroma had escaped. When he lifts the lids, 9 breathtakingly arranged dishes are revealed. Serafina's eyes practically turn into giant saucers. Truly worthy of a national banquet chef, the plating is aggressively elegant. Her stomach, which wasn't even hungry, instantly starts growling as he holds his glass in one hand and chopsticks in the other, declaring chow time. The three of them immediately start eating, focusing entirely on inhaling the food. Suddenly, Serafina looks up and shrieks out loud, startling the other two, who are mid-chew. Seeing them staring at her in complete bewilderment, she embarrassedly explains that the food is simply too delicious. She has never tasted anything this incredible in her entire life. He tells her she nearly gave him a heart attack, thinking she found a bug in the food. Alora and her husband eat like this on the regular, so they are desensitized to it, but for Serafina, tasting this caliber of food for the first time is a religious experience. The complex flavor profile dropkicks her taste buds. It is violently addictive. He chimes in smoothly, claiming they order from this top-tier restaurant. All the time, Alora plays along flawlessly, promising to take her to the actual place next time, claiming it tastes even better fresh out of their kitchen. His face stiffens for a microsecond, but he recovers instantly. He agrees, but inside, his brain is spinning about going to a fake restaurant. The restaurant, how is he going to fake that when the time comes to celebrate his wife's project winning the bid? He finally finds a perfect excuse to drink and raises his glass. With the project secured, not only will Alora get a fat bonus check, but her corporate status will skyrocket. She might even be promoted to manager next. Serafina eagerly joins in, wanting to celebrate, and hurriedly reaches for her ceramic cup. But in her excitement, she knocks the yellow cup right off the table. It smashes onto the floor, shattering into several pieces as she instantly panics. She shoots out of her chair, repeatedly apologizing while frantically looking around for a broom to sweep it up. Alora quickly tries to reassure her, saying it is fine and telling her husband to grab a new one from the cupboard. Callahan stood up to clean up the ceramic casualties. He pulled a new cup from the cabinet. This time it was a pure white ceramic cup, beautifully carved onto it was an incredibly lifelike crimson dragon. Serafina apologized profusely. She was incredibly sorry and asked where he bought it so she could replace it. Next time, Serafina felt incredibly guilty, but Callahan chuckled inwardly. Because you couldn't buy that cup anywhere, he quickly smoothed things over, telling her not to worry since it was just cheap market junk, $1 a pop. This new white one is the expensive one, cost $5. Looking at the premium drink spilled on the floor, Serafina felt absolutely terrible. She felt so embarrassed, but seeing how unbothered Callahan and Alora were, she did not push the issue. Alora glared at the yellow shards with disdain. To her, it was a good thing that ugly mug broke, since she always hated looking at it. Callahan froze with his dustpan, grumbling internally, ugly, that cup was an absolute masterpiece. Meanwhile, back at the studio, Serafina had temporarily left and was replaced by a new host. Penelope, she claimed a broken cup, reveals a lot about their easygoing nature. Then she pivoted to proper dining etiquette, saying one should always maintain table hygiene and never dig around in the communal dishes. With chopsticks, the live audience immediately found this new host incredibly boring and wondered who on earth wrote the rules for eating in your own home. They wanted a reality show, not an etiquette lecture. Bring back Serafina. The chat flooded with complaints, making the director frantically signal Penelope to step down, but right then a brave staff member volunteered, claiming he was an amateur collector in his spare time, and that the broken yellow cup might actually be something extraordinary. Hearing this, the livestream viewers immediately demanded answers on how extraordinary it really was. They doubted it could actually be an antique, arguing that nobody would actually use a valuable antique just to drink cheap booze. But they still wanted the tea. The director glanced at the surging chat and let the staff member speak to prevent the audience from fully rioting. Nervous middle-aged staff member slowly stepped onto the host stage. Since his job was camera clarity, he had seen every single detail of the cup. He announced that the broken yellow cup was highly suspicious of being an Imperial Heritage porcelain cup issued by the state back in 1952, due to its unique craftsmanship and master designer. It had always been a holy grail for elite collectors. The live stream exploded instantly. Viewers could not believe that ugly cup was a collector's item, let alone a state-issued piece of history. Some mocked their own lack of culture, noting every niche has deep lore. Oh boy, looks like Serafina had just caused a massive, expensive disaster. It was about what the cup represented, though many remained highly skeptical, since the earthy yellow exterior still looked way too aggressively ordinary, like something you would normally find at a flea market for $10. Max, the staff member, looked at the shattered pieces with heartache. On the screen, ready to reveal the true soul of the cup. The design of the Emperor's Heritage Cup is on the inside. See those glittering golden flecks, that is actual pure gold, and the bottom of the cup is stamped with the official flag of the Dragon Kingdom. The craftsmanship is insanely complex, showing that the piece was painstakingly hand-crafted and fired. Layer by layer, a humble exterior hiding a magnificent interior, perfectly embodying the traditional Dragon Kingdom philosophy of gold and jade within. What a tragic end for this masterpiece. But wait, this gets even crazier. Why on earth is Callahan's family using a priceless artifact as a casual shot? Glass, nobody in their right mind uses museum-grade porcelain for weekday dinners. Unless then the staff member delivers the final blow, a single cup goes for $70,000. A set of 3 costs $250,000. As a veteran collector, he knew there were only about 100 of these left in circulation, and almost all of them were locked in the vaults of billionaires and politicians. Staring at the broken shards on the floor, his heart physically ached. Another Emperor's Heritage Cup gone forever. The staff member made a secret vow. After his shift, he would sprint straight to Callahan's dumpster. He was going to dig out those shards, knowing a master restorer who specialized in ancient porcelain. Maybe it could still be salvaged. Even though the cup shattered, the damage did not look completely catastrophic. $250,000 a set, an $80,000 loss. Serafina definitely could afford to replace that, not because she was broke, but because she never imagined a cup could cost a house deposit. Now, check this next one out. The new cup, that one looks super sketchy too. Oh yeah, that Crimson Dragon design looks insanely beautiful, way better than that dirt cup. Seeing the audience's wild enthusiasm, the production team immediately told the staff member to analyze the new cup. The camera zoomed in on the dining table. Believing the new cup was just flea market junk, Serafina ate with reckless abandon. Who would have thought the normally elegant and pristine host would be scarfing down food like a competitive eater? On the flip side, Alora and her companion just took a few bites. Eat slowly, there is plenty of food. Alora laughed, scooping a bowl of rich, fragrant chicken soup for Serafina, calling it absolutely heavenly. Serafina picked up the bowl and chugged it down, not even caring that soup was dribbling down her neck. Was this still their untouchable goddess? The camera panned to the wine glass on the table. Vibrant crimson dragon coiled around the pristine white ceramic body. No matter how you looked, it did not look like flea market trash. That had to be the Crimson Dragon Jade Teacup, the staff member thought to himself. In the antique underworld, legends say this was the absolute final masterpiece of a certain legendary artisan. He crafted exactly 3 of these cups before passing away, their whereabouts becoming a total mystery. Who would have guessed? One was sitting in Callahan's dining room to finish his magnum opus. That master artisan had stubbornly clung to life for an extra year. Only after seeing the cups completed with his own eyes did he finally pass away in peace. But how much is it worth? Stop dumping lore on us. Who cares what master made it? We only care about the price tag. The staff member let out a heavy sigh. Someone once offered $330,000 for a Crimson Dragon Jade Cup. No collector would sell $330,000 for a cup. Where on earth did Callahan even get this treasure? Is he the original owner? What was his link to the master? After eating, the 3 of them relaxed on the sofa chatting. Serafina was terrified of letting a secret slip, so she let Alora vent about her workplace drama. Alora complained that today was bizarre. Out of nowhere, massive corporations suddenly wanted to invest in her project. Alora was steering the conversation deliberately. She was testing the waters. Meanwhile, Callahan casually munched on an apple, his eyes glued to the television, telling his wife her project was a gold mine. Alora narrowed her eyes, asking if that was really true. After all, those companies were Callahan Holdings subsidiaries. Hearing this, Callahan nearly choked. Spraying apple bits everywhere, he quickly scrambled to mix half-truths with lies. He claimed Callahan Holdings was founded by a buddy from the Finance Academy. Apparently, the founder absolutely idolized him and named the entire company after him. Alora scanned him with doubt, idolized him. Callahan just crossed his legs, looking incredibly smug. He bragged that without his mentoring, that empire would not exist. Hearing this, the livestream chat instantly exploded with collective laughter. Viewers joked they would believe him about as far as they could throw a piano. Since those academy lecturers are all billionaires, people online immediately began researching. They found the only domestic titans to lecture there were legendary billionaires. Forget the audience, even Alora and Serafina stared at him like a liar. Serafina immediately interrogated him on why the official corporate registry listed Callahan as the actual legal chief executive officer of Callahan Holdings. She accused him of lying. Inside his head, the gears turned rapidly. Thinking fast, he claimed he simply helped set up the business initially. He explained that he only held a 1% share and sold it back when he needed quick cash. 1% does not sound like much, but for a massive business empire, that was worth hundreds of billions. Alora actually started believing his story, completely falling for it. She wondered if he truly held a 1% stake in the firm. How else did a single phone call summon all those massive corporations? The online chat went absolutely berserk. People quickly searched online to figure out the value of that minor stake. With Callahan Holdings valued over $300 billion, a 1% share means over $3 billion. $3 billion is an absolute fortune. The entire chat could not believe it. With that amount of money in his pocket, why on earth is he even pretending to work? Just then, a verified financial expert chimed in to explain the details. Even with price drops, his payout was undeniably in the hundreds of millions. He could easily buy a massive mansion, a sleek supercar, and still live comfortably for 10 lifetimes. No wonder he did not care when that priceless ancient teacup shattered. He likely forgot he even owned that kind of ridiculous wealth. They assumed he was hiding $1 million at most, not operating in units of billions. The livestream chat went completely wild as the reality set in. An average person is incredibly lucky to save even a single million in their entire lifetime. Yet this couple was obscenely, filthy rich, leaving Alora completely dizzy. Overwhelmed by this insane wealth, what else was her husband secretly hiding? Callahan leans in close, whispering directly into her ear. He already gave that 1% share to Callahan Holdings subsidiaries. Serafina nearly chokes on her own saliva, completely losing her absolute mind. Thank goodness this man is not her husband. This is pure financial self-sabotage. Alora stands frozen in place, hundreds of millions just thrown away. Serafina quickly tries to do damage control, saying what is done is done. She tells Alora not to get mad since her life is comfortable. Alora takes 2 deep breaths to think logically. What if she actually had that money? Hundreds of millions in the bank would probably just leave her in constant paranoia. She would worry about company crashes or banks collapsing, ruining her peace. Her quality of life might actually plummet. Working a solid, quiet job was fine. Living peacefully was perfect. She turns to Callahan, asking if they really took everything. Did they seriously give him nothing in return for those precious shares? Callahan casually points out a few little trinkets sitting around the house. Serafina leans in close, her curiosity flaring up instantly. Get this, every single person in the stream chat is leaning in now. Even Alora, who's trying to stay calm, cannot help but listen closely. Callahan thinks for a second, admitting they actually gave him quite a bit. That yellow cup they just drank from was apparently a special gift from Little Wang. The kitchen meat cleaver is from Little Zhang, and the pickle jar is from Little Lei. That is pretty much it. Hearing this, Alora violently shoots up from the sofa. She stomps her foot in absolute fury over the terrible trade. Are they openly bullying him with literal garbage? Callahan puts on a puppy dog face. He insists they are very useful, leaving Serafina completely dumbfounded. Wait, is that yellow cup the exact same one she just shattered? She expected luxury assets in exchange, not standard household kitchenware. The live stream chat completely erupts. That cup Serafina broke is insanely famous. It is worth tens of thousands, and a set of 3 goes for over 100 grand. Not to mention it is the legendary Crimson Dragon Jade cup itself. Callahan is literally using priceless museum artifacts for random kitchen drinks. Alora storms into the kitchen and grabs the meat cleaver and pickle jar. She is utterly bewildered. She uses this exact cleaver every single day. It is sharper than a normal knife, and the pickle jar is decent if small. Who in their right mind would guess these objects are worth hundreds of millions? Chat scrolls at lightning speed, losing their minds over multi-million-dollar kitchenware. They urgently want an expert to check if they are antiques. Callahan's logic is absolutely, utterly terrifying. The production crew immediately zooms in for an extreme close-up of the cleaver. The director is shaking with pure adrenaline as the ratings shatter every record. The silver cleaver gleams brightly under the studio lights. Its blade is terrifyingly sharp and highly polished. The decorative engravings on the blade are worn smooth from years of daily use. You can only faintly make out a dragon claw shape and a circular stamp on the handle. The blurry stamp reads Callahan, right next to the crimson-glazed pickle jar. It is covered in thick dust and stands about the size of a water cooler. The lid was sealed completely airtight, although it lacked fancy patterns there. There was also a Callahan stamp on the bottom. The stream chat was merciless. These are absolutely fake, guaranteeing that the jar was definitely not a chamber pot used by an ancient emperor. That rusty cleaver is literally just a chunk of cheap metal, confirmed. Combined, this junk is not worth half of the broken cup. Little Wang actually had a bit of a conscience. At least his gift was real. Little Zhang and Little Lei definitely bought this cheap trash at a flea market and scammed him. The staff member on stage inspected both items from every angle. He could not see anything special about them. He awkwardly lowered his microphone, admitting he could not tell what they were. They needed a true certified expert to appraise them. After saying that, he bolted off stage. This was the iron rule of decoding your better half. The capable stay while the clueless get kicked off. The director slapped his table in frustration, and honestly, can you blame him? His gut told him the pickle jar was not ordinary. As for the cleaver, it was probably just a basic knife, right? It could not possibly be a legendary demon-slaying sword. Total panic backstage. They looked at each other. No one stepped up. If they actually had the skills to praise elite antiques, they would not be working a boring 9-to-5 job here. The director had to deploy his ultimate weapon, asking the audience to wait. They were immediately connecting with the nation's top antique appraiser. Host Penelope took the stage, again noticeably more subdued this time, announcing they were now connecting live with the legendary Master Reginald. When the video call connected, an elderly gentleman in a traditional Zhongshan suit appeared on the screen. He was sitting behind an elegant mahogany desk. To book this specific expert, the production team had dropped tens of thousands of dollars. Master Reginald was famed in the antique underworld as Golden Eye Reginald. Right now, he was grinning from ear to ear at the camera, just showing his face, saying a few words and pocketing over 10 grand, plus gaining tons of followers. This was the easiest money he had ever made. Greeting everyone warmly, Master Reginald waved enthusiastically at the camera. The chat immediately cheered, begging Master Reginald to tell them what era this pickle jar was from. Even though Master Reginald looked to be in his 70s, he was not even 60 yet. His viral fame came from a legendary internet meme. Someone once brought a museum-grade artifact to him for appraisal. He took one look and told them deadpan that possessing this artifact would earn him a solid 15-year vacation in a federal cell. And just like that, he became an internet icon, suggesting they first examine the exterior of the jar. Master Reginald, having been paid handsomely, naturally put on his professional facade, but the moment he caught a clear glimpse of the pickle jar on his screen, it was like he was struck by lightning. He froze completely, claiming it was an absolute fake. Before the audience could even process his reaction, Master Reginald was screaming in pure excitement about a replica. Everyone was stunned, even an ugly pickle jar has replicas. Is this expert actually legit? A master opens his mouth and exposes his own fraud. The chat mocked him relentlessly. Nobody took him seriously, but Master Reginald was hyperventilating, his chest heaving wildly. Penelope tilted her head and asked Master Reginald if he could he elaborate. The show paid top dollar for his presence. If he thought he could brush them off with one word, fake, he had another thing coming. 10 grand is not earned that easily. Reginald calls it a replica because he has personally seen the authentic version of this pickle jar and that cleaver. Golden Eye Reginald took a deep breath. After calming his nerves, he continued lecturing the camera. This pickle jar is a legendary treasure, authenticated by his master. Rumor has it it was a priceless treasure, gifted by the emperor to his royal chef 1,000 years ago. He pointed a trembling finger at the jar. He knew they might find it bizarre. Why would an emperor gift his chef a knife and a pickle jar? But this royal chef was no ordinary cook. He was the undisputed culinary god. Of his era, the ceramic techniques used on this jar represented the absolute pinnacle of technology at the time. Pickling vegetables in it infuses them with unparalleled flavor, and that meat cleaver was forged from a meteorite that fell from the heavens. It is terrifyingly sharp, Master Reginald's tone was heavy with reverence. His master told him if these two legendary artifacts are authentic, the market price would easily top $3 million, but they were lost to history decades ago. The ones in Callahan's possession must be replicas. The chat instantly exploded with chatter. They knew. If they are fakes, little Jiang and little Li would never give him anything that expensive. Poor Callahan, though the replicas look pretty convincing. Probably worth a couple $1,000 at least. After ending the call, Master Reginald felt a complex wave of emotions. Seeing those two items reminded him of his mentor who had vanished years ago. Meanwhile, back at the house under Seraphina's aggressive insistence, Callahan reluctantly opened his laptop. Brother Callahan, what genre of novels do you write? Seraphina asked. Curiously, he put on a dead serious face, claiming he writes healing novels, specifically designed to warm people's hearts. Alora looked confused. Healing novels, she wondered. She did not think he wrote that. She had caught glimpses of his writing before. It was clearly those hyper-aggressive, adrenaline-pumping power fantasy web novels. The comment sections were always flooded with 5-star reviews and massive donations, but she did not know much about the web novel industry, so she had no idea if his stats were actually good or not. He opened his author dashboard, pointing at the screen to explain. At first he thought donation points were actual dollars. When he saw millions of points, he thought they were filthy rich. Later, he found out 100 donation points equals $1. He writes healing novels hoping to help readers find hope in their dark lives. As he spoke, he scrolled through his notifications. Respected author Luna Flops, you have received 1 golden ticket. Respected author Luna Flops, you have received a 1,000-point donation. Respected author Luna Flops, you have updated for 11 consecutive days. Seraphina's sharp eyes immediately caught that last line, only updated for 11 days straight. She read a lot of web novels. Her absolute biggest pet peeve was authors who randomly went on hiatus. It seems Callahan was a master of the Irish goodbye. He awkwardly scratched his head. Awkwardly, sometimes the inspiration just dries up. You guys do not understand the agonizing struggle of writing. This statement instantly resonated with every web novel author watches the stream, feeling the pain of their words. They want to write, but sometimes the actual words just refuse to come out. Squeezing out 2,000 words over tea and snacks absolutely breaks their backs. Some curious viewers search up his pen name, Luna Flops, out of curiosity. They find a book about to go premium with only 200,000 words. Yet the stats are monstrous, with insanely active comments and huge donations. Right then, a platinum author named Orion clicks into the live stream. He is a god-level author, crowned by fans as a supreme lord. But now that Orion is getting older, his daily writing speed has seriously slowed down. Writing 6,000 words a day is tough. Suddenly, that name Luna Flops rings a bell. Orion opens up his reading app to search for this mysterious rookie writer. He discovers that this rookie book is actually rivaling his own launch numbers. Then the realization hits: how is a complete nobody pulling this off? Orion has a massive, established fan base backing every single release he drops. But this fresh face, Luna Flops, is breaking records out of nowhere. He has built a massive cult following with just 200,000 words. Suddenly, Orion realizes this is the exact same legendary book from the group chat. He slaps his thigh in absolute shock as the memories finally click together. He saw it praised inside the exclusive chat of top-tier platinum authors. Every writer in that circle is an industry titan making millions off copyrights. There are only 8 elite creators in that group, representing different major platforms. Normally, they just vent about deadlines or swap writing tips together. But Daily Tips for Healing Your Soul was different. This was the exact rookie novel they had all been obsessing over recently. A complete newcomer had somehow hit the jackpot, and their numbers were skyrocketing. Orion frantically scrolls back through the old chat logs. An urban novel expert had called it completely addictive and masterfully written. The veteran writers insisted that a real rookie could never pull this off. One fantasy master even admitted the emotional pacing was way better than his own. The plot hooks are just incredibly sharp, driving the stats straight up. Orion hesitates for a second, then drops a quick message into the group chat. He asks if this story is really as good as they say. The urban master replies instantly, calling it a complete masterpiece that he must read. The other authors chime in to agree. It is a completely bizarre sight. Keep in mind, these famous authors are usually incredibly proud and arrogant. Getting them to praise someone else's work is basically an absolute miracle. Driven by pure curiosity, Orion opens up the rookie novel himself. He starts off a bit skeptical, but instantly gets pulled into the story. Some writing just has a strange kind of magic that hits the reader directly. 30 minutes later, Orion reluctantly closes the app with a heavy sigh. He is completely caught up, but he cannot even figure out the genre. It feels like urban fiction, but with these strange, eerie supernatural undertones. Or is it fantasy? The setting is a bustling modern metropolis instead. Every event connects beautifully, dragging readers straight into the main character's shoes. Orion switches back to the stream, completely convinced it is a true masterpiece. Looking at Callahan's youthful face, he suddenly felt this young man was in unfathomable abyss. He called the novel pretty interesting. Meanwhile, Serafina and Alora were still giggling like absolute idiots in front of the laptop, having only read for 10 minutes. They found the plot incredibly hilarious. Callahan smiled and shook his head, thinking he was only aiming for a healing effect, but the livestream viewers were experiencing something entirely different. After finding his novel, they eagerly started reading, and soon the chat was tearing itself apart. Some called it hilarious, claiming it cured their depression, while others were literally sobbing their eyes out. The bizarre thing was how every single reader had a completely different experience. Some saw it as a pure power fantasy. Some thought it was a philosophical masterpiece, while others were deeply shaken by its brutal depiction of human nature. Suddenly, beeps echoed as his author dashboard started screaming with notifications. A golden ticket +1. Another +1,086. Donations +10. Followers up by 100,000. Callahan stared, his jaw completely unhinged. He wasn't shocked by the massive spike in numbers, but deeply confused about where this tsunami of readers came from. Logically, only an official platform promotion could drive this much traffic. Nowadays, platforms used aggressive algorithms to throttle novel exposure. He frowned and muttered that it made no sense. This was his burner count, so how was he discovered? Now get this, he completely failed to notice that right beside him, Alora and Serafina were busy pumping donations into his novel. Serafina donated $100, considering it compensation for the shattered cup. She even felt pretty smug about her clever solution, completely unaware that Callahan wouldn't even bend over to pick up $100. Alora's donation was much more symbolic, specifically totaling $4,400. After the platform took its cut, he would receive exactly $520. Valentine's Day was around the corner, and those numbers literally sound like "I love you" in Chinese. Perfectly conveying her feelings, she teased him, saying his novel just blew up and he had to drop a massive update today. Alora watched the endless stream of donation pop-ups, sneaking glances at his thoroughly confused face, trying to suppress her giggles. She and Serafina knew exactly what was happening. The millions of viewers in the livestream had obviously gone to search for the book. They never expected Callahan's prose to be this masterful. The detailed parts were incredibly vivid, and the fast-paced parts were clean and brutal. Why did his writing style feel so familiar? Veteran readers with sharp instincts quickly noticed something. This writing style was incredibly similar to that legendary masterpiece from a few years ago, I Came from the Underworld. That book was still sitting comfortably on the all-time bestseller list, but sadly, the author vanished into thin air the second he finished it. But forget that. People online began wondering if the moon god's writing style was identical to Luna. Flops prompted by this comment, people rushed to compare the two, and they realized it was a near-perfect match. Every platinum author has unique, ingrained writing habits, and the similarity between Luna Flops and the moon god was mathematically impossible to ignore. No way, is Callahan actually the moon god? After all, the moon god was a literal deity to them, but who on earth is this Callahan? Readers debating on the novel forums had absolutely no clue about the Decoding Your Better Half reality show. Words were useless. Here is the link, see for yourself. Someone posted the live stream. The hardcore fans of daily tips for healing your soul clicked it and saw Callahan. Live on screen, logged into the author dashboard, casually chatting away. They were completely dumbfounded. The author who penned this massive web novel masterpiece was actually this young. He looked to be in his early 20s at most, even more. Insane, he was highly likely the mythical moon god himself. This was way too wild. If that really was him, he was an absolute genius. When that masterpiece first launched, he would have been just a teenager. The comments became a complete war zone. Some doubted it. How could a teenager write with that much profound depth? Others argued not to underestimate youth. Plenty of web novel authors hit platinum status at 18. Who cares if he is the moon god? As long as he finishes the book, everyone calm down. Stop harassing the author while he is writing. These comments slowly quelled the frenzied readers. Although the moon god's story had been debated on forums for years, fans managed to restrain their burning curiosity. After bidding Serafina farewell, Callahan and Alora took a stroll around their apartment complex. Alora suddenly asked, "Hubby, are you hiding something from me?" His heart skipped a beat. He sneakily glanced at his gorgeous wife beside him and replied very seriously, "Wifey, I do have some small secrets, but there is a reason for them if you really want to know." Alora shook her head. "Never mind whatever secrets you keep, it does not change how incredibly well you treat me." Alora and Callahan enjoyed their leisurely stroll, soaking in the evening breeze they had not felt ages. They had been so bogged down by the grind, it had been forever since they last truly relaxed. Meanwhile, on the live stream, viewers were growing extremely restless, with Callahan and Alora missing from the screen for so long. The production crew was sweating bullets. Just a few minutes without their star couple in the chat had already started bickering, which was ruining the vibe of the broadcast. Penelope quickly threw to a commercial to buy some time, plastering on a sugary sweet smile. In the scorching heat of summer, what does it feel like to share sweet milk tea with the one you love? Cue the insanely catchy jingle, "You love me, I love you, Snowy." Delights is sweet and true. The chat was instantly derailed by the catchiness. At 7 p.m., Alora and Callahan returned from their walk. Once they washed up, the broadcast feed was cut for the night. Bored netizens dispersed, and a massive chunk of them ran off to read his novel. They originally just wanted to check it out for fun, but ended up hopelessly hooked. At 8 p.m., a massive post suddenly detonated on the forums. "The reality you see is just a meticulously crafted script." The post went viral the second it went live, clicks smashing past tens of thousands instantly. The original poster directly fired shots at the Decoding Your Better Half production team. Season 1 featured a rural couple. The selling point was mocking their lower-class lifestyle compared to city folks, which was blatant discrimination against rural communities. Season 2 featured a normal city couple, which was fine, but Season 3 is completely unhinged, insulting the audience's intelligence. They claim it is a live show, but everything is totally staged. Callahan is not some grand national chef, and he definitely is not a web novel author either. Once that post dropped, comments exploded. Panicked fans asked if this was true. If Callahan and his wife are paid actors, one fan vowed to eat garbage live. Meanwhile, the hardcore veteran fans staunchly defended its absolute authenticity, arguing the series had always prided itself on being raw and real. After all, its mission was uncovering secrets to foster a much deeper, mutual understanding. But in a dark, dingy room, a scrawny man stared at his monitor, sneering as his fingers flew across the keyboard. 10 minutes later, he fired off a second malicious post, asking how anyone in the real world could casually give away billions in corporate shares. He wrote that none of them had actually tasted Callahan's cooking, mocking the viewers as blind sheep who believed his grand claims. This targeted hit piece caused even the most loyal viewers to waver. Was Callahan actually just a paid actor? What about his god-tier knife skills and those official chef certifications hidden under the bed? Very quickly, the sudden doubt snowballed into a massive boycott, with angry viewers screaming that this was trash television. One commenter claimed to be Callahan's neighbor, seeing the crew creep around daily. Another even pretended to be Callahan himself, swearing that the entire show was scripted. Meanwhile, the control room was in total chaos as the director sweated buckets fielding furious phone calls. In just a few minutes, he received angry threats from 4 different corporate sponsors. Suddenly, a panicked staff member burst into the room, shouting that the forum post had gone viral. The director roared back in frustration, asking what else had happened as influencers jumped on the massive hate train. The trembling staff member handed over a phone, showing how bad things were. On various video platforms, clips exposing Callahan as a complete fraud flooded the feeds like a tsunami. Looking at this, the director let out a cold, dark laugh. Did these internet mobs really think their show had no powerful, elite backing? He violently slammed his fist on the desk, plunging the control room into silence. Serafina was ordered to stabilize the chat while they called Boss Sterling. Immediately for backup, Little Lee was tasked with drafting a public relations statement. They would sue the rumor mongers into oblivion, sending Penelope to call Mr. Dong. The director promised to tell her exactly what to say, his eyes burning. With fierce intensity, since someone wanted to destroy his show, he would fight back. He would weaponize the controversy to push their ratings to heights never seen in television history, knowing that they had absolutely nothing to hide from the public. Their show had never used a script, unlike all those heavily manufactured idol programs, so why should his genuine show be framed and ruined like this? There was definitely a shadowy mastermind behind this. Early the next morning, Alora was suddenly woken up by a frantic message from the production team. Serafina's voice note sounded incredibly desperate, pleading with Alora to sneak Callahan's chef certifications into the studio today because they were in massive trouble. Alora was deeply confused as to why they suddenly needed his certifications. But once she opened the livestream app, she nearly threw her phone in shock. Pure rage, people were actually questioning Callahan's culinary skills, were they? Out of their minds, they had personally witnessed and tasted his cooking. That level of skill surpassed national banquets. It was easily world-class champion level. She furiously typed a reply, stepping out of the bathroom. She bumped right into his curious gaze. He asked why she was up so early today. Alora quickly locked her phone screen and coughed awkwardly. She claimed she had a massive project handover at the office, and he simply nodded. He offered to make her some breakfast, and Alora eagerly agreed. But she immediately realized her mistake. After all, the old Callahan always claimed his cooking was basically radioactive waste. She scrambled to do damage control, asking if his food was actually edible or if she should grab steamed buns on the way. He patted his chest confidently, saying he learned a new recipe online. He knew for a fact Alora absolutely despised steamed buns. Alora planted a kiss on his cheek, calling him the best, then skipped off happily to change clothes. Watching her walk away, he smiled and tied on his apron, preparing to make a soothing bowl of yang chun noodles. In the live stream, the viewers were logging on in droves. Everyone was talking about that toxic forum post insisting Callahan is a fraud. Fans were screen recording the whole thing today to watch the haters get slapped in the face. The production team issued a solemn pinned statement regarding the malicious rumors, declaring they would pursue legal action to the fullest extent of the law. Today, they would broadcast Callahan's cooking process completely unedited, letting the facts speak for themselves. Host Serafina stood on stage sporting massive dark circles. It was obvious she hadn't slept a wink. At 7 a.m., a massive wave of loyal fans flooded into the live stream. On screen, Callahan was in the middle of making breakfast. With practiced ease, he cracked an egg into a pan. In exactly 30 seconds, he had fried a mathematically perfect sunny side-up egg. The motions were as elegant as flowing water, both new and veteran. Viewers were mesmerized, saying he was a national chef whose egg frying looked like a ballet performance. They dared the haters to say his skills were fake now. Just then, the camera abruptly cut to Alora. She was sneaking her head out of the bedroom door, looking incredibly shady as she spied on him. The audience immediately perked up, wondering what Alora was doing and if something was going down. They begged Serafina for commentary, finding the familiar scene highly suspicious. Serafina smiled and pulled up a screenshot of her chat logs to definitively prove Callahan's status as a national chef. They had asked Alora to bring the national banquet invitation to the studio. They had also invited a veteran national chef to authenticate it live. This massive bombshell instantly blew the roof off the live stream. Viewers realized the showrunners were staging a heist for his certificates. They had no choice. It was all because of those toxic haters. If they did not like the show, they should not watch instead of slandering innocent people. In the live stream, the audience was fiercely debating. Someone fired back that the production team was wrong, having promised a real look at married life, and instead they were sneaking around writing scripts. They asked if That was not just outright lying. Right then, someone dropped a massive nuke in the chat. Someone actually infiltrated the hater group chat, revealing a highly organized troll farm. Liking a post pays $1, while creating a new one earns $150, and spamming pays $3. The leaked screenshots clearly proved how they coordinate everything. Game plan, they coordinated everything to completely hijack the public narrative. The second this evidence dropped, the online hater army vanished almost instantly. It seemed so, their furious boss was already hunting down the mole. Deep inside a luxury office at Jongbei Tower, located in the Magic City, the headquarters of a massive media conglomerate, a delicate young man lounged on an Italian leather sofa, staring at his phone with a nasty sneer. Rumors, let them try, even if the production team is not faking it. This family is definitely hiding some major dirty secrets. This wealthy heir absolutely refused to believe one person could reach the absolute peak of two totally different industries. If Callahan really was both a top-tier national banquet chef and a god-level author, how did he stay anonymous? Total PR stunt, that had to be it. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Callahan expertly finished 2 bowls of yancha noodles with emerald green scallions floating elegantly on the clear, aromatic broth. He called out to his wife, telling her breakfast was ready. He carried the hot bowls out with the eager look of a rookie hoping for praise as Alora joined. Completely normal, or so she pretended, immediately taking 2 massive bites. He eagerly asked how it tasted, and Alora nodded, calling it delicious. She told him to cook every meal, which made him panic immediately. No way, he protested. Cooking daily is way too exhausting, scratching his head. He claimed he only knew this one specific recipe, so she had to handle the rest of the meals. Alora just laughed, telling him he has a real gift for cooking. He was laughing and crying on the inside. Completely crying on the inside, having absolutely no idea how to respond to her. The chat went wild, and honestly, can you even blame them? One plays totally clueless while the other knows everything. After finishing her noodles, Alora slung her bag over her shoulder, saying she was off to work. Her main mission today was to secure Callahan's official chef certifications. With those precious documents safely packed, she needed to rush to the studio. A retired national banquet chef was waiting there to verify Callahan's skills. As his wife, Alora fiercely believed his cooking was national banquet level. Seeing so many hateful comments online about him made her absolutely livid. He yelled for her to drive safely the second Alora left the house. Callahan threw his hands up in victory, cleaning the dishes in record speed. He sat straight down on the sofa and pulled his gaming console out. His wife was away, perfect. It was finally time to play some video games. He booted up King of Brawlers, causing the chat to explode with laughter. His absolute childhood favorite, so many viewers watching live agreed with him. Everyone wanted a close-up of his mechanics to witness his true skills. A huge chunk of the older viewers had grown up playing this game. Memories of smashing arcade buttons were deeply etched into their very souls. Younger kids only play online nowadays, rarely touching these nostalgic retro classics. Classics anymore, his fingers fly across the controller with blinding speed. He pulls off devastating, flawless combos effortlessly, obliterating his computer opponent. Another flawless victory. He sets the controller down and stretches lazily. Being this good is lonely. If only he had an opponent who could actually pose a threat. Staring at the massive victory graphic on the screen, he tilts his head back with an incredibly smug, punchable expression. The livestream chat instantly explodes. This guy's arrogance is off the charts. Brothers, can we really let this slide? The true arcade king is right here, send me his IP address to challenge him to a duel. However, the viewers who actually understand fighting games see the real truth. Callahan's mechanics are legitimately insane. Those combo transitions are buttery smooth. Who knew he was a pro at fighting games too? The chat quickly splits into 2 warring factions. The female viewers are deeply confused, asking why the guys are so obsessed with this. The characters look like pixelated garbage, so what is the big deal? The guys reply with misty-eyed nostalgia, saying the girls just do not get this romance. Back in the day, their blood boiled just like his. Now, they are just tired. Dads, watching Callahan play King of Brawlers seems to unlock a floodgate of repressed memories for the chat. Everyone was young once, everyone had their days of burning passion, but eventually they all got beaten down by reality. Paying bills, buying groceries, and raising a family consumes their Entire existence, where did that fiery youth go after finishing the round? He spins his chair around to face the computer. Everyone assumes he is about to start working, preparing to write his novel. Even the crew thinks this is the perfect opportunity to prove his status as a platinum author. They zoom the camera all the way in on his monitor, magnifying the screen multiple times. Instead, they watch him open a folder on his desktop. The folder was simply named Resources. Instant panic. The stream is losing its monetization. He is taking them for a ride. Is he into that stuff too? What exactly does resources mean? It obviously means educational. Study materials, wink wink. Viewers wonder if his resources are the same as theirs. Resources, the folder opens, but the contents completely shatter everyone's dirty expectations. It is a massive hoard of retro video games, and it is hidden behind layers of deceptive folders. You have to click through 7 or 8 folders just to reach them. There are tons of game files, titles like Chronicles of Legend, Blade and Soul, Crossfire, and more. All of them are legendary PC games that used to dominate the internet. He decides to play some Chronicles of Legend. He has not logged in to check things in forever. Beep. He boots up the launcher for Chronicles of Legend. The pixelated low-res graphics cannot hold a candle to modern AAA titles, but it was the defining memory of an entire generation. He opens his character profile panel and notices his inbox is overflowing with private messages, all of them sent over the past few years. When his character stats are broadcast to the livestream, every single person who ever played Chronicles of Legend feels their soul leave their body. Even the production staff's hands begin to shake. His character ID is Eclipse Warlord, level max, level 999, gear absolute god tier. The undisputed loadout of an absolute mega whale. Every single stat was maxed to the absolute limit of the code. Eclipse Warlord, why had no one ever heard of this account? Look at that level. Even the legendary Warlord 8L barely reached it right. Accounts like Warlord 8L, Phantom 15, and Little Shrimp were legendary gods in the hearts of veteran players. Phantom 15 once wiped out 50 players without breaking a single sweat. Little Shrimp was the player who became legendary during those massive siege wars. His iconic catchphrase, "As long as legend stands, our glory stands," became his brand. He was an incredible leader with top-tier strategic skills. Then there was Prince Crimson, a legendary figure from the very same era as the Flaming Dragon. When he wielded that Dragon Slayer blade, clad in war god armor, and roared out with the dragon Slayer in hand, "The world is mine," it became the ultimate symbol of domination in the game. As for Warlord 8L, basically every player knew his name. He was the undisputed king of pay-to-win, pouring so much real-life money into his account that developers actually had to raise the level cap just for him. His iconic quote, "Do not try to challenge my pocket. Change with your annual salary," cemented his legacy as the ultimate tyrannical whale. But this Eclipse Warlord account, nobody had ever heard of it. While everyone was scratching their heads in confusion, he opened his message inbox. Instantly, a flood of private messages filled his screen. Little Shrimp messaged, "Boss, when are you joining our clan?" Warlord 8L asked Eclipse Warlord, "Want to meet up in real life and teach me some mechanics?" Phantom 15 wrote, "I completely bow down. Master, please teach me. I can only solo 50 people right now. Any more and I get crushed. How do you solo 100? Every single legendary figure in the game actually knew him personally. The truth was instantly cemented. Everyone suddenly realized just how terrifying he truly was. He was not just some player. He was the hidden god of whales. It is. The game peaked around 2001. By 2007, it had largely lost its mainstream dominance. It had been nearly 2 decades since its golden age. Spending $10 million on a game might not sound like infinite wealth, but anyone willing to burn $10 million on a single game is absolutely not a normal human being. Anyone can clearly see that. A normal player spending a few $1,000s is already considered a heavy spender. Spending $10 million and remaining hidden, mind-blowing, right? But thinking about it, it made perfect sense. He was an executive chef for the National Banquet. His culinary empire from back in the day was incredibly lucrative. Having that kind of absurd cash was totally normal. Plus, he had casually gifted away billions in corporate shares. When you factor that in, dropping $10 million on a retro game did not seem so crazy anymore. If he sold that account today, he could easily buy a luxury sports car with The cash, most people would not dare spend that much on a game. Well, back in the day, anyone who dropped that kind of money is basically a billionaire titan today. Wait, in 2001, how old was he, playing legend? Back then and already a god-tier whale. That realization hit the community hard. Slowly, the audience realized a massive, glaring plot hole. If he truly was an ancient gaming god, he must have been incredibly young back then, playing that game. Holding on to such a ridiculous amount of wealth at that young age was highly suspicious, which meant his family was unfathomably rich. Suddenly, it is 10 a.m. The live viewer count for the show smashed past 2 million. This was the exact target demographic the team prayed for. With Alora arriving at the studio, they finally prepared to invite the national banquet chef onto the stage. Serafina looked incredibly serious. They were about to prove the show was authentic. Time to confirm his true identity. From the sidelines, Alora watched the stage curiously. After Serafina announced his arrival, and a man in his 60s walked up from below. How was it obvious he was a chef? Because he literally wore a full chef's uniform. He had a slightly plump, jolly physique. You could not miss it. Greetings, Chef Montgomery, they began, welcoming him warmly before the authentication process, asking him to introduce himself directly to the audience. Serafina walked right over to him holding the microphone, her sweet, professional smile returning to her face. Chef Montgomery nodded in agreement. He gave a solemn introduction, stating his name and explaining his father was a chef for the national banquet, whose culinary legacy he inherited while working in those state kitchens for nearly 10 years. Even so, he would not claim to know every single chef who had ever cooked there, but if they were a head chef, he absolutely recognized them, presenting his official credentials as absolute proof. He gestured to the massive screen behind him. Photographs appeared. The first shot showed him standing proud alongside the president and the vice president. The second photo was a massive group shot of elite chefs with Chef Montgomery standing seventh from the right. Then came the third photo showing a wall covered in prestigious culinary awards alongside his official executive badge. Talk about bulletproof evidence right there. That wall of official state honors was the ultimate mic drop. Because absolutely nobody has the guts to forge national state honors. If you get caught, it's federal prison. How could a massive show dare to fake something like that in front of millions? You have to admit, the production team is flexing hard here. They literally summoned a national banquet chef with 10 years of experience. He definitely knows if Callahan is real. Obviously, if he does not know him, then it proves Callahan is a total fraud. Look at those photos. They are all legendary master chefs. But wait. Why is the chef in the center wearing a surgical mask? He looks pretty young and slim. Could that masked guy be Callahan? Let's hear what Chef Montgomery has to say. Once those photos appeared, the vast majority of the audience fully believed the chef was real. Only a tiny fraction of hardcore haters still stubbornly refused to believe. Sure, Montgomery was real, but whether Callahan was a state chef was still an open question. Serafina wasted no time asking him. Had he ever heard of a man named Callahan? She knew what the audience was dying to know, tossing the question his way. His backing was incredibly robust. In fact, the producers of Decoding Your Better half only managed to book him because their billionaire owner personally pulled a massive favor. Before arriving today, Chef Montgomery had zero clue whose identity he was verifying. He did not even know the main guest's real name. Callahan, hearing that single name, Chef Montgomery's entire face froze in shock. How do you people know that man? He asks. There's definitely a story here. He clearly knows him. Did Callahan secretly steal his recipes back then? The chat fires back, saying they only know him from the show. Is he trolling? Viewers ask, telling him to watch his rude manners. But forget the hyped viewers. Serafina and Alora suddenly grow incredibly tense. They are terrified Callahan's relationship with the chef is actually hostile. This is Alora, Mr. Callahan's wife, Serafina explains, adding that he is their main guest. Serafina bites the bullet and explains, knowing the show has aired for a while. Chef Montgomery surely knows its premise, and sure enough, the reaction is instant. The elite chef's eyes widen to the size of saucers as he stares at Alora. In total shock, he asks if she is really head chef Callahan's wife. He begs forgiveness for his lack of manners, calling it an absolute honor. What just happened? Talk about a total twist, as Alora stands completely lost. Why is this legendary, elite chef treating her with such profound, trembling respect? Perhaps Chef Callahan never mentioned me to you, he mutters, so you wouldn't recognize me. Tears suddenly well up in his eyes as a heavy silence falls over the studio. It is so quiet you could hear a pin drop as the old chef gets emotional. He looks at Alora not just with deep respect, but with absolute profound reverence. Head Chef Callahan is an absolute legend, Chef Montgomery finally gasps out. His voice trembles with heavy emotion as he points a shaking finger at the screen. The screen displays a grand photo of the elite national banquet chefs. The young man standing dead center wearing a surgical mask is your husband, Alora. Talk about an absolute mic drop. The entire livestream chat completely freezes. All those coordinated, paid trolls are suddenly dead silent. Wiping his eyes, Chef Montgomery explains that Callahan did not simply cook. He revolutionized their entire culinary philosophy, mentoring half the people there. He trained half that photo before suddenly vanishing completely from the public eye. Unbelievable, he was living a quiet, peaceful life all this time. Realizing the gravity of the moment, Alora reaches deep into her bag. She pulls out the credentials she found in the guest bedroom and lays them out. She presents his 3-star Michelin certification and World Championship certificate. And resting right on top is the official national banquet invitation. Chef Montgomery carefully inspects the prestigious national banquet invitation. He nods emphatically, confirming that this is indeed 100% authentic. It bears the official state seal, proving any doubters are painfully ignorant. With this verification from a veteran chef who served there for 10 years, the truth is undeniable. The haters and trolls vanish. They disappear completely, leaving behind millions of absolutely awestruck viewers. The hit reality show has just shattered every single television record in history. Meanwhile, back at the apartment, Callahan was still completely clueless. He sat peacefully at his computer, logged into his legendary gaming account. He played Chronicles of Legend. Suddenly, his phone buzzed on the desk. It was an incoming call from his old buddy from the academy. The acting chief executive of Callahan Holdings was completely panicking on the line. He screamed that Callahan was currently featured on a major reality television show. The entire country was watching him play video games, and Callahan froze. He quickly opened a web browser and clicked on the top trending link. There was a high-definition livestream of him staring directly at his screen. 7,380 hidden cameras Alora planted were broadcasting everything. Oh no, Callahan muttered to himself, dropping his face in his hands. His fake persona of a lazy husband who intentionally burned scrambled eggs. Just to avoid kitchen duties was completely shattered, along with his secrets. His secret identity as Luna Flops, his corporate empire, and his account were exposed. Talk about a reality check. 20 minutes later, she arrived. Laura walked inside, closely followed by Serafina and the show's crew. Callahan stood up slowly, looking exactly like a deer caught in headlights. He was terrified. He braced himself for a massive hurricane of anger. After all, he had hidden billions of dollars from her for years. For 3 long years, wifey, he squeaked, trying to find words. He claimed he could explain, but Alora just stared at him silently. Then she sighed softly, walked forward, and threw her arms around him. She called him an absolute idiot, burying her face into his shoulder. Just to avoid chores, he hid everything just to avoid the dishes. Callahan blinked in surprise, wrapping his arms tightly around her. He asked if she was not mad about Callahan Holdings or the national banquet. Laura pulled back with a gentle smile, admitting she was furious initially. But seeing him panic over her scraped finger and run sweet errands proved he was still her Callahan, no matter his massive billionaire status. He was a top author and a genius cook, but still her husband. At that statement, the entire live stream chat erupted into pure joy. Seriously, who is cutting onions? Viewers everywhere were crying from the sweetness. Serafina stepped forward, gently dabbing her eyes with a soft tissue. She asked Callahan what his next move would be after this reveal. Callahan looked at Alora and then turned to the camera, grinning. Absolutely not, he proudly declared. He was officially and completely retired. He gave up the corporate shares and fame for a quiet life. His only job left now was being a good husband to Alora. Then his face fell. He looked at his wife with a pout. He joked that this meant he actually had to cook dinner now. Laura laughed. Her bright voice echoed happily throughout the entire apartment. She teased that she wanted authentic squirrel mandarin fish tonight. Callahan playfully saluted his queen. The camera slowly started to fade. As the screen went black, the legendary episode concluded. It proved that sometimes the greatest treasures are the simplest things. The biggest secret anyone can bury isn't a mountain of wealth or status, but the quiet, desperate things they'll do to protect a normal, peaceful life with the one they love.